Chapter 11:23. When Guan Rui heard this, his anger was stuck in his throat. However, he knew that there was no benefit in going head-on with Lu Chongshan at this time. Hence, he said in a gloomy tone, "Brother Lu, we are indeed in the wrong in this matter, but Tingxiao's actions have hurt the relationship between our two families. After all, we will be a family in the future. Because of that woman, Xiao has already suffered a lot. Xiao hasn't even married into our family yet, but he already has a woman outside. He even slapped our family's face because of that woman. Isn't this disappointing?" Hearing this, Lu Chongshan's expression became serious. After pondering for a while, he let out a sigh and said, "Brother Guan, Rui and I have liked Xiao since she was young, and have treated her like our own daughter. If it's possible, I naturally hope that our families can become a family. But the Lu family won't be so selfish as to force Xiao to wait for Tingxiao. You've seen Tingxiao's situation, and there's nothing Rui and I can do. So, we don't dare to delay Xiao's future. Let's just let the children take their own course." Lu Chongshan naturally hoped that they could have a marriage alliance with the Guan family. But looking at the current situation, it wasn't just Tingxiao. Even Xiaobao was getting closer to that woman. If Tingxiao didn't compromise in a year or two, would the Guan family have to wait for a year or two? They might end up becoming enemies instead of becoming in-laws. So, it was better to make things clear. Guan Rui's expression changed when he heard this. However, he could not refute Lu Chongshan's words. After all, the two families were only talking about it in private. They did not even have a marriage contract. Even if it was spread to the outside world, it would be unjustifiable and unjustifiable. He had been too impatient this time, so much so that Lu Chongshan had backed off because he had too many misgivings. Guan Rui gritted his teeth and said hurriedly, "Brother Lu, listen to what you're saying. I believe that the two children still have feelings for each other. It's just a small misunderstanding. If we don't want to sign the agreement, then let's just treat it as our apology for what happened last time. It's my fault too. I shouldn't have brought a relative I'm not familiar with to such an occasion. Brother Guan, you're being too serious. Since it's a misunderstanding, it's fine as long as we explain it clearly. The relationship between our two families will definitely not be affected by the matters of our children." As Lu Chongshan was speaking, his sleeve was suddenly pulled by someone from behind. Tilting his head, he saw his precious grandson tugging at his sleeve with his little hand while holding a painting in his other hand. Lu Chongshan's face was immediately filled with affection. "Xiaobao is done. Do you want to show it to Grandpa?" Xiaobao nodded and looked at Guan Rui. He probably remembered that he had seen this man at the birthday banquet. He was Guan Zhichen's grandfather, and his little face immediately tensed up. Lu Chongshan naturally noticed the change in his precious son's expression. He hurriedly responded with a few words and sent Guan Rui out. After sending Guan Rui off, Lu Chongshan immediately returned to the living room to continue accompanying his precious grandson. Right now, nothing was more important than coaxing his precious grandson to call him Grandpa. Lu Chongshan looked at Xiaobao's painting as he praised it lovingly. Lu Chongshan couldn't help but fall into deep thought as he watched the child's lively expression and lively eyes gradually recover. The reason why he was so against Tingxiao being with that woman wasn't because he was stubborn and unreasonable, but because once bitten, twice shy. Chapter 11:24. That night, Yin Rui came over as well. She was carrying bags of various sizes, all of which were bought for Xiaobao. In the end, as soon as he entered the door, he saw Lu Chongshan, who had disappeared for a whole day, was actually here. Furthermore, he was following Xiaobao around, not taking a single step away from him. He was helping Xiaobao pass his brush to him and complimenting him in different ways. Yin Rui's expression darkened, and she said sternly, "Lu Chongshan, you lied to me that you want to play golf with your friends, but you ended up here instead." Seeing his wife, Lu Chongshan coughed unnaturally. "Can't I come? Does my grandson need to report to you? Since you're just here to see your grandson, why did you hide it from me?" Yin Rui looked as if she had seen through him. Lu Chongshan immediately fell silent with an embarrassed look on his face. Yin Rui pointed at him and glared at him. Her expression was both angry and jealous. "You've been here for the entire day, but has Xiaobao called you Grandpa yet?" Just then, Lu Jingli ran out from behind her. As he munched on an apple, he laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, Mom, don't worry. My dad's unfair competition didn't succeed. I've asked the maid at home. Xiaobao didn't speak at all today, let alone call me Grandpa." Lu Chongshan was so angry that he glared at him. "Rascal, so what if he didn't call me Grandpa? Xiaobao got along with me so well today." When Yin Rui heard that Xiaobao didn't call him Grandpa at all, she was instantly elated. Fortunately, the old man didn't go before her. Otherwise, she didn't know how to show off in front of her. As for Lu Jingli, he was even more delighted. "Ha ha ha ha, I knew it. Xiaobao really loves me." These days, Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan were competing to make their presence known in front of Xiaobao, but none of them succeeded. He was still the record holder. Ha ha. As Lu Jingli was gloating, the door behind him opened. Lu Tingxiao returned with Ning, she beside him. The two of them were carrying bags of vegetables and meat. Seeing that Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan were there, Ning, she was stunned. She whispered into Lu Tingxiao's ear, "Why didn't you tell me that your parents are here too?" Lu Tingxiao looked innocent. "I just found out too." Roar. Sister-in-law smash. "Are you going to cook by yourself? Isn't that right? No wonder I heard a magpie calling at my bedside early this morning. Come in, come in." Lu Jingli immediately rushed over and took the bag from Ning Shi's hand. Then he shouted upstairs, as if he was afraid that Ning, she would run away. "Smash the bag. Your mother is here." Thud, thud, thud. Like a summoned beast, Little Bun ran downstairs as soon as he heard the word mommy. He hugged his mommy's calf, raised his head, stood on his tiptoes, and eagerly opened his short arms. Mommy hugged. His little face had an aggrieved expression that said, "I've been waiting for Mommy to hug me for a whole day." Hearing the three words baby that almost melted people's hearts, Ning she couldn't care less about who was here. She didn't even have eyes for Lu Tingxiao, only for Little Bun. She stuffed the things in her hands into Lu Tingxiao's hands and then used her free hand to carry Little Bun. Her tone was so gentle that even Lu Tingxiao was jealous. "Baby, what did you do today?" "Draw, what else?" "Right." "Did you obediently practice on time?" "Yes, obediently." "Baby is amazing." Chapter 1125. Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan exchanged a glance with each other as they watched Xiaobao and Ning she chatting freely with each other. They both sighed with emotion. They later asked Qin Mufeng and learned that Xiaobao had basically recovered. However, most of the time, he probably only talked to people who were close to him and whom he trusted and felt safe with. Sigh. Unfortunately, for Xiaobao's safety, he had gone too far. As a result, his only precious grandson had left him. Yin Rui walked over and asked, "Tingxiao, are you guys going to cook tonight?" "Xiaobao's homework. He's going to finish dinner with Mom and Dad," Lu Tingxiao replied. Yin Rui nodded. "I see. This school assignment was quite meaningful. Your dad and I won't disturb you, right?" Surprise flashed across Lu Tingxiao's eyes when he heard this. Even Ning, she was surprised. She had originally planned to accompany Xiaobao to cook today. She hadn't expected Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan to be there too. She had already prepared to rush over tomorrow to help Xiaobao with his homework. Unexpectedly, not only did Yin Rui not complain about her coming, but her attitude was also unprecedentedly gentle. Lu Tingxiao and Ning, she exchanged a look and said, "It's fine. You guys watch TV. Dinner will be ready soon." Okay. You guys go ahead. Call me if you need any help," Yin Rui said hurriedly. Lu Chongshan didn't object from the beginning to the end. Lu Tingxiao said, "Okay." Ning she nodded at the two elders. She then carried Xiaobao into the kitchen with Lu Tingxiao. After the family of three entered the kitchen, Lu Jingli rushed back to his yard to pick vegetables. His own vegetables were the best. Yin Rui and Lu Jingli sat on the sofa in the living room. They looked at the three people in the kitchen with complicated expressions. From time to time, Xiaobao's childish voice could be heard from the kitchen. Once upon a time, this was a scene that they had dreamed of ever since something happened to Xiaobao. The entire Lu clan had been shrouded in a dark cloud. They had never thought that they would be able to see Xiao Bao recover in their lifetime. Chongshan, perhaps it's time for us to let go of our prejudices regarding what happened back then. We can't possibly overturn a group of people just because of a single person. We've been watching this girl for a long time. She's indeed very kind to our Xiao Bao. Yin Rui sighed. Lu Chongshan pondered for a long time. It was rare that he did not fly into a rage the moment Yin Rui mentioned this matter. He muttered, "Let's wait and see. After all, time reveals a person's heart." In the kitchen, under the command of Ning Shi and the help of Big Steam Bun and Little Steam Bun, a sumptuous dinner was soon prepared. Ning Shi looked at the last bowl of soup on the stove, lowered her head, and said to Little Bun, "Xiao Bao, dinner is almost ready. Go tell Grandpa and Grandma that dinner is ready." "Got it, Mom." Xiao Bao nodded obediently and ran toward the living room. When Xiao Bao went to call for them, Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan were talking and didn't notice Xiao Bao coming over. In the end, halfway through their conversation, they suddenly heard a childish voice. "Grandpa." Chapter 11:26. Lu Chongshan's mouth fell open, and he turned his head in disbelief. His body trembled as he stared at the little boy standing in front of him, as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. Did Xiao Bao say something just now? "Grandpa, it's dinner time," Xiao Bao said and turned to Yin Rui. "Grandma, it's dinner time." The words Grandpa and Grandma were so sudden that Yin Rui almost lost control. She turned around hurriedly and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Then she said hurriedly, Okay. Grandpa and Grandma heard you. Grandpa and Grandma are coming." Xiao Bao left in satisfaction. Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui looked at each other. Their eyes were moist. Yin Rui wiped her tears and glared at Lu Chongshan. "Xiao Bao called you first. Now you're happy. What are you talking about? We called each other at the same time. How can you be so calculative over such a small matter? You're like a child," Lu Chongshan said, but he couldn't hide his joy and satisfaction. Seeing him like this, Yin Rui couldn't help cursing him for a long time. Although he said he didn't care, he was actually overjoyed. How dare he call her a child when he was so childish? The atmosphere at dinner was unusually good, and the whole family was in high spirits. Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan were smiling the whole time, and their attitude towards Ning Shi was also much more polite. After dinner, when Ning Shi was about to leave, Yin Rui said, "It's so late. Why don't you stay here?" Ning Shi was indeed surprised by Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui's attitude tonight. She turned them down politely. "Thank you, Mrs. Liu, but I'm going to City Q on a business trip tomorrow morning, and I have some documents to sort out when I get back." "I see." Yin Rui nodded. "Are you busy with the clothing company?" Ning Shi nodded. "Yes. I heard that Xianxia opened your agency store, and it's doing well." Ning Shi gave a wry smile. At first, it was good, and her store had the highest turnover on the books. But later I found out that she used the method of small profits, but quick turnover and super low discounts to increase the turnover. She even changed the professional shopping guide I arranged for her. Although Yin Rui wasn't a professional, she had been influenced by Lu Chongshan for so many years and immediately noticed the problem. This girl, how could a luxury brand do this? What happened next? I've already looked for her once and asked her to strictly follow the rules and regulations. It's just that she gave too many discounts previously. It'll probably take some time for her to reverse the situation. However, as long as she doesn't mess around, she'll definitely gradually improve. Listening to Ning Shi's methodical analysis of the market and brands, Yin Rui nodded and couldn't help but say a few more words to her. After that incident, Chongshan had specially investigated Ning Shi's company. She had founded it all by herself and had done everything herself. From a small studio to today's scale, Ting Xiao had never interfered at all during this period. Later, Yin Rui and Ning Shi chatted for a while. In the end, Lu Ting Xiao urged them to send Ning Shi to the door. "Mom!" Little Bun grabbed onto Ning Shi's trousers and raised his head with a face full of reluctance. He looked like he wanted nothing more than to become an accessory to Ning Shi's leg and follow her home. Chapter 11:27. Okay, Ning, she squatted down and rubbed the little bun's head. Mom, when will you come back? Well, I'm not sure yet. I'll call you and video call you. Hug me. Ning, she hugged him for a while. Kiss me. Ning, she kissed the little guy's forehead again. The mother and son were affectionate for a long time before Ning, she finally left, looking back 3 times at every step. Behind him, Lu Jingli watched as the little bun behaved like a little white rabbit in front of Ning Shi, which really made him very cute. Therefore, as soon as Ning Shi left, Lu Jingli went up to the little bun and said lovingly, Xiao Bao, don't be sad. Second uncle will give you a hug and a kiss. Come to my arms. Little Baozi retracted his reluctant gaze from the direction Mama left in, then turned to Lu Jingli with a serious expression and said word by word, Second uncle, I'm my mother's baby. If you like, you can give birth to one yourself. Lu Jingli, poof, poof, poof. Lu Jingli's chest was hit by several arrows. He almost vomited blood. Brother, hey, can you control your son? Lu Tingxiao rubbed his son's head, expressing that he was indeed his own son. Yes, Xiao Bao is mommy's baby. Yin Rui said, Xiao Bao is right. If you like children, find a wife and have them yourself. Don't look at other people's babies. Lu Chongshan snorted in disdain. He has to be able to do that. Lu Jingli, who'd been stabbed by his nephew, brother, and parents, was speechless. He would never show off in front of his brother that Xiao Bao called him second uncle again the next morning. After a night of recuperation, Ning Shi and Han Momo headed straight to City Q. Province H was close to the capital, and City Q was the capital of Province H. There were 2 biggest shopping malls. Xiao Weilon had already contacted one of them. Ning Shi went there to discuss the details. As the boss, she didn't have to do everything herself, but she had to know how to do it. So, she had to go through the learning process. On the plane, Han Momo was sorting out the information of all of Gong Shang's design works, while Ning, she was carefully looking at the agency plan. If there were any omissions or flaws, there was still time to make amendments. Ning, she didn't feel any pressure to be the agent of Ling's brand in other provinces. This was just the first step. In the future, Ling would spread out in every city until it stepped onto the international stage. Of course, the most important thing now was to be steady and sure, so that Ling could successfully open up the domestic market. Q City and Province H wasn't far from the capital. They arrived at their destination in just over an hour. After leaving the airport, the 2 of them checked into the hotel they had booked. After lunch, Han Momo followed Ning Shi to the largest shopping mall in City Q, New Century Shopping Mall. There were 2 famous shopping malls in City Q. One was New Century, and the other was Huixing Shopping Mall. In the past few years, Huixing Mall had steadily surpassed New Era in terms of customer flow and market share. In recent years, due to the development of the city, the relocation of the government, schools, and even the main city area brought more people to New Century shopping centers. And New Century shopping centers seized the opportunity. After seeing the signs, they immediately increased investment and publicity and became the largest shopping mall. In City Q, there were 2 famous shopping malls, New Century Shopping Mall and Huixing Shopping Mall. Chapter 1128. In the past few years, Huixing Shopping Mall had surpassed New Century Shopping Mall in terms of both traffic and market share. In recent years, due to the development of the city, the relocation of the government, schools, and even the main city area brought more traffic to New Century Shopping Mall. The New Century Mall also seized the opportunity. After seeing the signs, it immediately increased its investment and publicity efforts, becoming the largest mall in a single leap. The agent that Ling had gotten this time was the most powerful clothing company in New Century Mall. The boss was called Deng Quan, and he was the agent of 8 branded stores. All of the low-end and mid-range brands were well managed, but they lacked high-end brands like Ling. During this time, Ling's reputation was rising. Coupled with the definition of a high-end brand, the agent discount was attractive enough, which made Deng Quan interested in joining. About half an hour later, Ning Shi arrived at New Century Shopping Mall with Han Momo. After walking around the mall, she found that New Century Shopping Mall was really big and had a lot of traffic. In addition, the agent, Deng Quan, was also very capable. If Zailing could be opened by Deng Quan in this area, it would be very beneficial to the development of Zailing in H province. After entering the mall, she called Deng Quan and told him that she and her assistant had arrived. Half an hour later, a middle-aged fat man in a suit and leather shoes walked toward she with a female secretary. "Hello, Miss Ning. I'm Deng Quan." Deng Quan smiled and shook hands with she. Then, Deng Quan led she into the office of the mall. In the office, after chatting for a while, she gave the agent plan to Deng Quan and smiled. "Mr. Deng, the details of Zailing's agent are all written in this plan. You can take a look first." Hearing that, Deng Quan nodded and opened the plan seriously. "Here are the latest samples of Zailing, Mr. Deng. You can also take a look." Han Momo stepped forward and handed a delicately packaged clothing to Deng Quan. "Well, not bad, very good." Deng Quan looked over it and closed it. With a satisfied smile, he said, "Miss Ning, I've been to Zeiling's clothing store twice. I'm very confident in the quality and style of Zeiling's clothing. I'm also quite satisfied with other aspects. But as for the price, could you give me a discount?" Hearing that, she said seriously, "Boss Deng, you also know that you get what you pay for. We also attach great importance to Boss Deng's joining, so we have increased the discount to the limit." "Hee, Miss Ning, we are all businessmen. We are all here to make money, right?" Deng Quan smiled faintly, with an expression that said, "You understand." "Mr. Deng, it's like this." She paused for a moment, and then said, "If I tell Mr. Deng today that the price can still be discounted, then Zailing's loss will definitely be recovered from the material. This is not a good thing for the consumers or Mr. Deng. Moreover, I believe Mr. Deng has seen Zailing's reputation and quality. A capable businessman like Mr. Deng should also know Zailing's potential." Deng Quan's eyes flashed. He saw that the founder of Zailing was young and wanted to lower the price. He didn't expect this little girl to be so experienced, and what she said was very reasonable. Zailing's brand effect and potential were what he valued the most. Chapter 1129. Miss Ning, then there's no problem. Let's go back to the capital tomorrow. Take me to your Zailing headquarters for a tour, and we can sign the contract. What do you think?" Deng Quan said with a smile. "Of course, you're welcome. Boss Deng, that's a deal. If you have any questions later, you can contact me at any time." Hearing that, she looked slightly relaxed. After chatting with Deng Quan for a while, she left with Han Momo. Before leaving, she made an appointment with Deng Quan to visit the headquarters in the capital and sign the contract. After leaving New Century Mall, Shi and Han Momo returned to the hotel. However, not long after Shi left, a man strode into Deng Quan's office. "Mr. Deng, please allow me to briefly introduce myself. I am the marketing director of History, Xianxia." The man stared at Deng Quan. "History?" Deng Quan was surprised. He naturally knew about History. History became famous earlier than Zailing, but coincidentally, History and Zailing's brand positioning and audience were the same. These two high-end brands were currently competing with each other. Xianxia, if I remember correctly, you should be the former marketing director of SF, right? Deng Quan looked at Xianxia and had some impression of him. Xianxia nodded and did not deny it. "Haha, Mr. Qin, I'm afraid you're late. I've already made a verbal agreement with Zailing to represent their brand. I'm afraid you've made a wasted trip." A shrewd businessman like Deng Quan could naturally guess the purpose of Xianxia's visit. "Oh, a verbal agreement." Xianxia smiled nonchalantly. "Boss Deng is a businessman, so I won't beat around the bush. We, History, are also very interested in New Century and Boss Deng. This proposal was written by me myself. Boss Deng, why don't you take a look before making your decision?" Deng Quan patiently took Xianxia's proposal and carefully looked at it for a moment. 2 points lower than Zailing. Deng Quan was a little surprised. This discount was more attractive than Zailing's. "Mr. Deng, if you are the agent of our brand, We will directly deploy people from the headquarters, from the brand management of the stores to the shopping guides. Most importantly, the publicity fees will also be paid by history. Qin Zifen threw out a very tempting price tag. Deng Quan pondered for a long time. Finally, he looked at Qin Zifen and said, "Haha, we're all friends. Let's have dinner together tonight, and we can talk about it slowly." After leaving Deng Quan's office, Qin Zifen called Ning Xueluo. "Boss, it's done. I've said it before, Zhe Ling's marketing director is just an ordinary guy." Qin Zifen hung up the phone and left with an inexplicable smile on his face. The next day, in a hotel room, Ningxi suddenly received a message from Deng Quan, saying that they had thought about it for a long time and had given up on representing Zhe Ling. They had chosen history. The specific reason was that the conditions offered by history were more attractive. How could it be like this? Mr. Deng is too untrustworthy. Han Momo was furious. We were too careless this time. In any case, let's go and confirm with him first. Ningxi's expression was slightly serious. She did not say much and went straight to New Century Mall with Han Momo. When they arrived, they found that Deng Quan had made up his mind this time. He only invited Ningxi for lunch and did not mention anything about representing Zhe Ling. Chapter 1130. Later, Ningxi heard that history's marketing director, Qin Zifen, came to find Deng Quan right after she left. After Qin Zifen came, Deng Quan immediately gave up Zhe Ling and chose history. It was easy to figure out what had happened. After leaving New Century, Ningxi immediately called Qiao Weilan and asked her to come to Q City immediately. History's marketing director must have some connections. In this situation, she could only rely on Qiao Weilan. She didn't know if she had a way. At noon that day, Qiao Weilan arrived at Q City and checked into the hotel Ningxi had booked. Ningxi had told Qiao Weilan the whole story in the previous communication. When they met, she repeated it. "Give up New Century." Qiao Weilan said her idea directly. "Give up? Are you sure?" Ningxi couldn't believe it. Qiao Weilan would say that. "Yes." Qiao Weilan said seriously. History's marketing director came prepared. He is fighting a price war. If we keep playing with him, we won't win. Even if we win, we will lose. "Director Qiao, what do you mean?" Han Momo didn't understand. "It's very simple. History is fighting a price war. The agency price given to New Era is the lowest possible price. It can be said that history itself is not making much profit. If we want to snatch it back, we have to lower the price even more. This is not a good thing for Zhe Ling, and it may even affect the quality of the clothing. For the sake of New Era, there is no need to do this," Qiao Weilan said lightly. "Director Qiao, you mean that if we take it back, it's putting the cart before the horse. It's not good for Zhe Ling, and they have achieved their goal. If we don't take it back, New Century must be given a history. Although their profit is small, it's good for the promotion of history's brand." Ningxi was surprised. "Yes." Qiao Weilan nodded. Ningxi's understanding was correct. Hearing that, Ningxi was shocked. Who exactly was the marketing director of history? This was a sure win situation. If Zhe Ling wanted to take back New Century, she had to pay a big price. If she didn't take it back, she would give it to history. But no matter what, Zhe Ling would lose. Zhe Ling was stuck in the middle. She couldn't move forward or retreat. He's definitely going to lose? Ningxi was unhappy that her first business in another province was snatched away by history before she could make any progress. Who said I lost? The game has only just begun. Qiao Weilan's face, which had always been cold and serious, had a bright and lively expression that only appeared when talking about the field she was good at. But Director Qiao, we can't snatch it or not. What should we do?" Han Momo looked puzzled. Not to mention Han Momo. Even Ning, she didn't know what Qiao Weilan was thinking. "Other than New Era, we have another suitable choice. New Era's archenemy, Huixing," Qiao Weilan said. Huixing Mall. Hearing Qiao Weilan mention Huixing, Ningxi was lost in thought. In recent years, although New Century has been suppressing Huixing, it doesn't mean that Huixing is weak. On the contrary, Huixing is very strong, especially in the high-end chain brand. Huixing is doing very well, and the number of high-end customers is also very considerable, Xiao Weilan said with a smile. Director Xiao, do you mean that we should transfer to Huixing? Ningxi roughly understood what Xiao Weilan meant. Chapter 1131. Actually, I've already been talking to Huixing. Huixing has the intention to cooperate with Zailing, Xiao Weilan said. Then why did you ask me to go to New Century to find Deng Quan? Ningxi found it increasingly difficult to see through this woman's thoughts. Boss, if you had taken Han Momo to Huixing first, wouldn't we have to abandon Huixing and go to New Century now? Xiao Weilan's words were shocking. Now, both Han Momo and Ningxi were confused. According to Xiao Weilan, Director Xiao had already made up her mind that Zailing's first target was Huixing Mall, not New Century. In that case, she and Han Momo were both kept in the dark, and Xiao Weilan had used them. She was speechless. She even fooled her own boss. Deduct his salary. She had to deduct his salary. As if seeing through Ningxi's resentment, Xiao Weilan chuckled and said, Boss, it's not what you think. The best plan is to take both Huixing and New Century. But since history is interested, we can give New Century to them. It's not a big deal. Ningxi's eyes sparkled as she listened. At the same time, she was moved. If what happened before was just a small test, then now, Xiao Weilan was completely started a fight for Zailing. Director Xiao, you're really something. If the boss and I had gone to Huixing earlier, and history had started a price war and occupied Huixing, we would have had no choice but to give it up. But now, history has chosen New Era, and they're making us lose for sure. They're practically taking it for nothing. Doesn't this mean that from the moment history's people stepped into Province Age, they had already lost? Han Momo admired Xiao Weilan from the bottom of her heart. There was only worship in her eyes. There was no longer any rejection or dissatisfaction. History had occupied New Century with almost zero profit. They must be feeling happy now. Little did they know, they had already lost. If it weren't for Xiao Weilan's clever calculation, even if history entered New Century, their profits would be countless times higher than now. And they wouldn't have had to spend a lot of money to give Deng Quan those tempting benefits. Director Xiao, how do you know that the people of history will definitely come to compete with us? Han Momo still didn't quite understand. Could Xiao Weilan predict it? Xiao Weilan said calmly, the current marketing director of history is called Qin Zifen. He used to work in San Francisco. During his tenure, he used various means to defeat many strong competitors for San Francisco. History is now our biggest competitor. Qin Zifen has just taken office, so he must want to achieve something. What if Qin Zifen doesn't come? Han Momo asked again. Xiao Weilan stared at Han Momo as if she was a fool. If he doesn't come to rob us, New Century and Huixing will belong to us. Brilliant, truly brilliant. Now, I finally know what it means to be cunning and far-sighted. Oh, I think I need to make up for Mr. Qin's meal. Ningxi chuckled. Qin Zifen did the first step, but Xiao Weilan did the 15th. She was ahead of him every step of the way. It was easy to see who was better. Xiao Weilan didn't attach much importance to New Century. Most of the clothing brands in New Century had been contracted by Deng Quan, which meant that in the past, New Century had no high-end brands for sale, which meant that it had no market share. But Huixing had been operating high-end clothing brands for many years. It was almost the first batch in Province Age, so Huixing had a large number of high-end customers. Chapter 1132. Zailing's definition was very clear. It was a high-end luxury brand. New Era's customer traffic was indeed a notch higher than Huixing's, but that traffic was clearly not Zailing's target customer base. Huixing, on the other hand, had many high-end customers. 2 days later, Ningxi and Xiao Weilan finally signed the agency contract after a round of discussion. This agent was more powerful than Deng Quan of New Century and was one of the shareholders of Huixing. These days, Xiao Weilan and Ningxi traveled back and forth between the capital and Province Age to help with the opening of Zailing, which left a good impression on the shareholder of Huixing. To Ningxi's surprise, she ran into an old acquaintance at Huixing on the day before the opening. Ming Fong Fong. What surprised her even more was not that she had met Ming Fong Fong in City Q, but that there was a man by Ming Fong Fong's side. The man was tall, handsome, and looked very young. At this moment, he was carrying big and small bags and holding an ice cream in his hand. He was attentively asking about her well-being. "Miss Ning, long time no see. I didn't expect to meet you here. I haven't had the chance to thank you for last time. Shall we have a meal together?" Ming Fong Fong looked at her and offered an invitation. Different from the hysterical and haggard look before, Ming Fong Fong was exuding a woman's gentleness, and her complexion was very good. It seemed that she had been doing well recently. "This is—" The man looked at Ning Shi and asked, "Ning Shi, I've mentioned her to you. So you're Ning Shi?" The man suddenly looked kind. "Then I should treat you. Miss Ning, are you free?" Ning Shi recovered from her surprise and answered readily, "Sure. Of course it's good to have someone treating." In a private restaurant nearby, the man knew that it was inconvenient for them to talk in his presence, so he didn't disturb them and left after seeing them off. "Call me when you're done. I'll pick you up." Ming Fong Fong said, "Okay." After the man left, Ming Fong Fong leaned back in the chair and glanced at Ning Shi. "Are you filming recently?" she asked casually. "I've finished filming. If everything goes well, it'll be released soon," Ning Shi answered. "Which director?" "Shimian." "What a coincidence. My first movie was with director Shun." Ming Fong Fong couldn't help but sigh. Ming Fong Fong played the female lead in Shun Mian's second drama, Love in the Future. That movie was still an unsurpassable classic. At the same time, it established Ming Fong Fong's status in the entertainment industry. It was a pity that Ming Fong Fong was the daughter of a wealthy family. She had only entered the entertainment industry for fun. Later, she got married after just one show. However, even though she had retired from the industry, her influence was still there. That was why so many people paid attention to Hu Hongda's affair. After exchanging greetings, Ming Fong Fong looked at Ning Shi and asked, "Don't you have any questions?" Ning Shi was curious just now, but it was inappropriate for her to ask. Since Ming Fong Fong brought it up, she asked, "Ahem, senior, that man is—" "My husband," Ming Fong Fong answered. Ming Fong Fong felt it was good to be addressed as Senior Ning Shi. Ning Shi had wanted to ask if she and Hu Hongda had divorced, but now it seemed that there was no need to ask. Not only had they divorced, but they had also remarried quickly. Chapter 1133. No wonder she appeared in City Q. She had married here. Ning Shi gave her a thumbs up. "Cool." Ming Fong Fong was amused by her reaction. "Really? Of course. To be honest, I was worried that you would soften up again. I can tell that you really love Hu Hongda. After all, you even forgave him after knowing that he had an affair. But luckily, a goddess is a goddess, decisive in killing." Ning Shi clasped her hands together. Ming Fong Fong smiled bitterly. "I'm not as straightforward as you say. I'm just too indecisive. That's why I've dragged it on for so many years. If Fongya hadn't come to me and let me see their true colors, I might have made the same mistake again. Fongya came to me." Ning Shi could almost imagine what had happened then. "Although I also think that you should get a divorce. But wouldn't it be too easy for Fongya?" Ming Fong Fong sneered. "Looks like you haven't been watching the news recently." Ning Shi blinked and spread out her hands. "Are you talking about the financial news?" "I only watch the entertainment section." "Hu Hongda is bankrupt," Ming Fong Fong said. "Bankrupt?" Then Fongya. Although Ning Shi was a little surprised, it was also within her expectations. At that time, New Century Real Estate was already on the verge of death because of Lu Tingxiao. They even forced Ming Fong Fong to leave, so naturally, there was only death left for them. "What do you think?" Ming Fong Fong glanced at her. Ning Shi raised an eyebrow. Did she abort the child and leave? How could Fongya still be with Hu Hongda when he was bankrupt? The two of them had a good plan. They thought that Ming Fong Fong would compromise and save the company. At that time, they would continue to collude with each other and enjoy wealth and glory. Who knew that Ming Fong Fong would not do as they wished this time? The two of them ended up with nothing in the end. After the company went bankrupt and Fongya aborted the child, Hu Hongda came to me immediately. Ning, she looked worried. With his personality, he would definitely pester you and not agree to the divorce, right? You guessed it. Then how did you get rid of him? What else can I do to deal with such a person? My family got someone to beat him up, and he immediately became well-behaved. Otherwise, how could I still reason with him? Ning, she showed a happy expression. It seemed that Ming Fongfong had completely let go of the past. Your current one seems to be very nice to you? Speaking of the man just now, Ming Fongfong's originally cold expression immediately softened, and he treats me very well indeed. He has liked me for many years, but I have never considered him because he is younger than me by a whole 5 years. At that time, I thought he was young and didn't believe that he was serious. I also thought that a rich second generation like him couldn't be relied on. I didn't expect that he would wait for me for so many years. After knowing that I was divorced, he immediately came to find me. At first, I couldn't accept him because of my inferiority complex, and his family would never allow a divorced woman who was so much older than him to marry into their family. Ning, she frowned. This was indeed a bit troublesome. And then, as Ming Fongfong spoke, her expression became even gentler. At that time, I told him that it was difficult for me to conceive and that I might not be able to have a child for the rest of my life. I wanted him to back off. In the end, he took a hospital diagnosis and told me that he was also infertile. Chapter 1134. Ningxi was dumbfounded. Really? Is he really infertile? Ming Fongfong touched her belly. I'm pregnant. What do you think? Ning, she was pleasantly surprised. Damn, really? You're pregnant? Congratulations. Needless to say, that man was obviously lying to her. Ming Fongfong looked at the girl's heartfelt joy and was moved. Thank you. At the mention of this, Ming Fongfong was still a little shocked. When I found out that I was pregnant, I was shocked. I thought it was Wu Hongda's, so I was going to secretly abort it. Halfway through, he found out and told me the truth. Then, he took me to the hospital for a detailed examination. From the time, it was indeed his child. Then, his parents also agreed to our relationship. Ning, she was shaken to the core when she heard this. Fortunately, fate would not mistreat the kind people. She had waited for a little life to come, and she finally had a happy ending. As for that Fanya, I'm too lazy to ask about her, but someone will always tell me that she was banned because of her bad reputation, and now she's shooting those kinds of movies. When mentioning Fanya again, Ming Fongfong's expression was much calmer, as if she was talking about a stranger. I'm sorry that I misunderstood you at that time and said those words to you. Now I can't drink, so I'll use tea instead of wine to toast you. Ming Fongfong apologized to her solemnly. In addition to the apology, she was more grateful. If Ningxi hadn't exposed Wu Hongda's lies, she wouldn't be in this situation today. Ningxi hurriedly returned a toast. You're welcome. You didn't know it at that time. Ming Fongfong looked at her worriedly. She seemed to want to say something, but finally said, I wish you and that person everything goes well. Thank you. Ning, she was a little surprised. She raised her eyebrows. I thought you were going to persuade me not to be a moth to the flame. Ming Fongfong chuckled. If it were me, I might not be able to resist a man like Lu Tingxiao, let alone a little girl like you. And I can see that Lu Tingxiao really likes you. Since I became pregnant, I feel that everything in this world is possible, isn't it? Of course, I've always thought so. Hearing such a positive story, Ningxi's mood brightened a little. After Ming Fongfong left, Ningxi returned to the hotel and prepared for the opening the next day. Who knew that he would see her again at the opening ceremony? Little Ming. No, Mrs. Zhao. I'm just here to take a look. Am I not welcome? Seeing Ningxi's surprised expression, Ming Fongfong smiled. Of course you're welcome. I'm just a little surprised. You're pregnant. Is that okay? When chatting with Ming Fongfong yesterday, Ningxi had casually mentioned the reason why she came to City Q in the opening ceremony today. She hadn't expected that Ming Fongfong would come to support her in person. It's just a few steps. What's the problem? Don't treat me like I'm made of glass. Ming Fongfong was probably often nagged by her husband at home, so she said angrily. But Ningxi didn't dare to neglect it. She hurriedly supported the pregnant lady as if she was the Empress Dowager. Mrs. Zhao, why are you here? My apologies for not going out to meet you. Even the person in charge of Huixing was flattered to see Ming Fongfong and hurriedly greeted her. I'm here to support my friend, Ming Fongfong said casually. Chapter 1135. Ming Fongfong was not only a descendant of a prominent family in the capital, but her husband was also one of the top tycoons in the area. He hadn't expected Zhe Ling's boss to be friends with this madam. The person in charge of Huixing immediately became more respectful and valued this agency more. Mrs. Zhao, please come in. If I had known you were coming, I would have wrapped up all the corners. Otherwise, it would be terrible. Who didn't know how much President Zhao doted on his wife? Ningxi was speechless. Not bad. She was a talent for flattery. Ming Fongfong rubbed her forehead. Did you see that? I'm like this everywhere I go now. I'll have to endure for another 7 months. Ningxi chuckled. I sympathize. When Ningxi said this, she would never have thought that one day she would be the one most deserving of sympathy, not far away. Xiao Weilon and Han Momo were surprised to see Ningxi and Ming Fongfong chatting so happily. They had been worried that they wouldn't be able to find a suitable person to attend the opening ceremony in City Q. They hadn't expected Ningxi to invite the wife of the Zhao family in City Q. Not only was she famous in the entertainment industry, but she and her husband's family were also celebrities. She was in line with Zhe Ling's position and requirements. Soon, it turned out that Ming Fongfong's visit this time was even better than they had imagined. After Ming Fongfong got pregnant, she had been living in seclusion and hadn't appeared in front of the media for a long time. This time, when the media in City Q heard news, they swarmed over and attracted a large number of Ming Fongfong's high-end hardcore fans. On the first day of opening, Huixing's Zhe Ling agency was almost sold out. The first day's turnover was millions. In contrast, the History Agency, which had opened yesterday, was a little deserted. The total turnover of 2 days was less than a fraction of Zhe Ling's in Huixing. After the opening ceremony, Ningxi deliberately stayed for a few more days to see how Zhe Ling was doing in Huixing. After a few days of observation, Huixing's daily turnover was very impressive. Ningxi now admired Xiao Weilon's strategy very much. The number of high-end people in Huixing was indeed many times more than in the new century. It gave Zhe Ling an excellent start in H province. As for Xiao Weilon and Han Momo, they felt that Ningxi was really amazing. She could surprise them every time. Ming Fongfong's support simply made Zhe Ling's reputation in Province H even more powerful. Now, New Era Deng Quan's intestines were green with regret. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have gone back on his word. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Everything was already a foregone conclusion. Soon, the news reached the capital. When Ning Shueluo heard about it, she flew into a rage and scolded Qin Zifen. She would never have thought that not only would Zhe Ling bring it to Huixing Shopping Mall, but even Ming Fongfong would go to support it. Huixing Shopping Mall definitely did not have such great influence. So it must have been Zhe Ling's people who invited Ming Fongfong, damn it. What was going on recently? Not a single thing went smoothly. Ning Shueluo was annoyed. She took out the phone again and said to the person on the other end of the phone impatiently, "How's the thing I asked you to do last time? Why is there still no result? What's the hurry? They've already taken the bait. Just wait to close the net," the man on the other end of the phone said unhurriedly. Chapter 1136. Ning Shueluo heaved a sigh of relief. A hint of viciousness flashed through her eyes. You could be more ruthless when you attack. It'll be more realistic. Don't worry, little girl. I don't need you to teach me this kind of thing. Don't forget about me, the man said in a low voice. Ning Shueluo sounded a little annoyed. Didn't I say that I would find a chance to help you bring it in? Next month, there would be a shipment from Luoyang City to the imperial capital. There won't be any problems. As long as you do my job well, everything will be fine. Imperial capital, Platinum Palace. Inside the study, Xiao Baozi was lying in front of Papa's desk, staring at him with his big eyes without blinking, asking for the 16th time today, when is Mama coming back? In the past few days, the conversation between Lu Tingxiao and Xiao Bao was basically this. When will Mama come back? Why isn't Mama back yet? Will Mama come back today? Will Mama come back tomorrow? It was obvious that a son who could speak was more difficult to deal with than when he couldn't speak. In the past, he only used his eyes to attack, but now he also used his voice to attack. Lu Tingxiao pinched his eyebrows and closed the laptop in front of him. Then, he tilted his head and looked at his son with a complicated expression. In the past few days, Xiao Bao had called his mother, grandfather, grandmother, and even second uncle. Although every time Xiao Bao spoke to Lu Jingli, he could tell that Xiao Bao actually liked him very much. That was because Xiao Bao spoke to him the most, and he would basically reply every time. As for him, to this day, he had yet to hear Xiao Bao call him daddy. Every time Xiao Bao looked for him, it was to talk or ask about things related to Ningxi. Apart from that, there was nothing else. It would be a lie to say that he didn't care at all. Xiao Bao, come here. Let's talk. Lu Tingxiao waved at his son. Xiao Bao was looking forward to his mother's return, so he wasn't in the mood to chat. It was obvious that he wasn't in the mood to chat. You don't want to call me? Lu Tingxiao asked directly. Little Bao's little face instantly stiffened when he heard Lu Tingxiao's words, and his expression stiffened. As expected, this child was indeed unwilling, so he deliberately did not call out to him. Why? Can you tell me about it? Lu Tingxiao tried to soften his tone. However, the little fellow's expression seemed to have turned even uglier. This time, he didn't even want to talk to Lu Tingxiao. He took out the writing board that he hadn't used for a long time. Although he could now express himself with words, he still had the habit of carrying a writing board with him. Then, Lu Tingxiao saw his son write 3 words on the writing board. It's all your fault, all my fault? Lu Tingxiao looked at those 3 words with a puzzled expression. What does that mean? Little Baozi's eyes were filled with grievance, and her expression became even more indignant. She continued to write. It's all your fault that Xiao Bao wasn't born from Mommy's stomach. Xiao Bao wants to come out of Mommy's belly. The little fellow's eyes were red as he held the writing board. He looked like he was about to cry. He knew that although Aunt Xiaoxi had always been so kind to him, she was not his biological mother and the person who gave birth to him. When he thought of this, he was especially angry at Papa. Why didn't Aunt Xiaoxi give birth to Papa? When Lu Tingxiao heard his son's words, he was stunned and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 1137. The little guy's logic, of course, he also wanted to have a baby with Ningxi, but if he and Ningxi had a baby, it would not be Xiao Bao. However, Lu Tingxiao couldn't explain this to Xiao Bao. Or maybe he didn't need to explain it all. Xiao Bao also knew this in his heart. He was just angry, too angry and wronged. Why couldn't he be Annie Xiaoxi's biological son? In the study, the atmosphere between the father and son was a bit stagnant. At this time, Lu Tingxiao's cell phone rang. It was Ningxi calling. Hello, boss, do you miss me? The girl's cheerful voice came from the other end of the phone. Judging from her tone, it should be going well over there. Yes, he had never missed her so much. Wife, if you don't come back soon, I won't be able to handle my son. Hey, I'm about to get on the plane. I'll arrive in the capital tonight, but it'll be very late. I won't disturb your sleep. I'll see you in Xiaobao tomorrow morning. I'll pick you up. Well, I'm with Momo and Director Chiao. Do you want to scare them to death? I'll take a taxi back. Good boy. By the way, is Xiaobao asleep? If not, can I talk to him? So, Lu Tingxiao gave the phone to his son who couldn't wait. Mom. As soon as Xiaobao heard Ningxi's voice, he looked very obedient. He was totally different from the angry Xiao Bao just now. At the same time, in a private casino somewhere late at night, Zhuang Ronwang stared at the cards in his hand with scarlet eyes. His palms began to sweat, and the people around him were also staring at him. Finally, the trump card was revealed bit by bit. The moment they saw the trump card, the 2 friends next to Zhuang Ronwang were so excited that they jumped up first. Zhuang Ronwang immediately threw the card in his hand. Straight flush. Give me money. A pile of chips was pushed over. Zhuang Ronwang's face was red with joy. He had already planned to travel around the world after graduation, but his family definitely wouldn't agree. They might even impose financial sanctions on him. His sister's attitude on this matter was also very firm. She would definitely unite with his family and wouldn't give him a single cent recently. He had been trying to raise money, and a friend had recommended him to come here to try his luck. Although he loved to play, he also knew that there were some things that he couldn't touch. This time, he was really short of money, and seeing that a few of his brothers had won a lot, he came over to give it a try. At first, he didn't dare to play big, but he didn't expect his luck to be so good today. In just a short while, he already had millions of chips in front of him. Following that, Zhuang Ronguang opened 3 rounds in a row and won every round. Originally, he wanted to raise enough money and was ready to leave, but seeing that his luck was so good, he really couldn't bear to leave, so he continued to play under the encouragement of his companions. In a corner not far away, a square-faced man with dyed blonde hair and bare arms revealed a wretched smile as he picked up his phone and made a call. The big fish is taking the bait, reel in the net. Not long after the blonde man hung up the phone, a tall man with a thick gold chain around his neck squeezed through the crowd and walked in front of Zhuang Ronguang. "Hey, little brother, I've been watching you for a long time. Everyone says that you're in luck tonight. I don't believe it. Do you dare to have a big one with me? Come at me then. I'm not afraid of you." Chapter 1138. An hour later, Zhuang Ronguang had lost all the chips he had won. The man wearing the gold chain laughed proudly and pulled all the chips in front of him. "Kid, you're still too young to play with me. Another round." Zhuang Ronguang slammed the table with a gloomy face. "Another round. You've lost all your pants. Go home and find your mother to drink milk." The man hissed. As soon as the man finished speaking, the casino burst into laughter. At that moment, Zhuang Ronguang had really lost all his pants. His clothes were all branded, and he had taken them all off as collateral. He had even lost the genuine leather wallet his sister had given him on his birthday. He had originally planned to earn some travel expenses, but who knew that he would lose everything? Most importantly, he had won so much money, but he had lost it all. Between the ups and downs, the young man's chest heaved up and down violently. He could not accept it no matter what. "Stop right there. Bet with me again. If I lose, I'll write you an IOU." The man wearing the gold chain laughed. "Ha ha, little brother, I don't care about IOUs. I want to see cash. Fuck, do you think I'll owe that little money? Come or not. If I lose, I'll get someone to send it to you immediately." Zhuang Ronguang roared. "TSK, looks like you won't be satisfied if you don't play this round. I'll be kind and play with you again." The man returned to the gambling table. A moment later, Zhuang Ronguang fell into the chair in a daze. "Impossible! Impossible! Again!" The man wearing the gold chain revealed a fierce look. "Sure, return me the 5 million you owe me first. I'll pay you later." Zhuang Ronguang's expression changed when he heard that he had unknowingly lost 5 million. "Fuck, you're messing with me. You've already owed me 5 rounds. You still owe me. Who do you think I am? How dare you play tricks with me? Get someone to send me the money immediately. Or else." Zhuang Ronguang wanted to say something, but a few of his accomplices immediately surrounded him. They all looked fierce. Zhuang Ronguang's back was drenched in sweat. He quickly pulled his 2 buddies beside him. "Do you still have money?" "We still have money. We gave you everything we could." "That's right. I've even pressed down my watch." "Fuck. What should we do now? You guys insisted on bringing me here to play." Zhuang Ronguang raged. "Photon, what are you talking about? Didn't we bring you here because you said you needed money? There are winners and losers in gambling. Luck is not something we can control. Stop bullshitting with me. I don't care what you think of. Hurry up and help me raise the money. 5 million. Where are we going to raise it for you? The few of you, have you finished discussing? If you can't take out the money, then leave one of your hands behind." The golden chain man looked at him and roared. There were too many things like this in the casino. The others either had the attitude of watching a good show, or they were indifferent and played their own games. Zhuang Ronguang's face turned pale. "What's the hurry? Aren't I raising the money?" He carefully looked at those people. Other than the man with the gold chain, There was a yellow-haired man in the lead. His eyes were evil, and the others had exaggerated tattoos and scars on their bodies. They were cursing, and it was obvious that they were hooligans. However, they looked unfamiliar, and their accent was mixed in when they spoke. They seemed to be foreigners. Chapter 1139. All in all, they were not to be trifled with. At this time, the two friends next to Zhuang Rongguang looked at each other, and then one of them said, "Photon, how about this? Changzi and I will go out and raise money for you first. Otherwise, we won't be able to get money just by staying here." "That's right. We'll get the money as soon as possible and send it to you." Zhuang Rongguang looked at the few fierce-looking men and could only agree. "You two, hurry up." "Yes, yes, yes." The two of them ran out quickly. Then, Zhuang Rongguang was brought to an abandoned warehouse not far from the casino. After the group of people brought him over, they ignored him and continued to drink and play cards noisily. As they were guarding the only exit, he had no chance to escape. It was late at night, and the place was gloomy and had a musty smell. Moreover, the place was remote. Even if he were to die here, no one would know. Thinking of this, Zhuang Rongguang could not help but feel a chill down his spine. If it were any other time, he would have moved out of his house. This time, however, he had caused too much trouble. If his family found out, he would be done for. Therefore, he could only place his hopes on his two friends. However, as time passed, there was still no movement from the two of them. There was not even a phone call. "Hey, brat, why aren't they here yet?" Your two friends wouldn't have run away, would they? The man with the golden chain kicked him and asked. "Impossible. I'll call them right now. Maybe they're already on their way here." Zhuang Rongguang quickly made a phone call. In the end, the phone rang a dozen times, but no one picked up. After it hung up automatically, Zhuang Rongguang continued to call, but this time, the phone was turned off. Zhuang Rongguang's forehead was covered in cold sweat. His hand trembled as he dialed another person's number, but it was still turned off. SHIT. Zhuang Rongguang was so angry that he almost smashed his phone. Usually, when they played together, he was the one who paid. Even when they were picking up girls, he was the one who lent them money and a car. In the end, when something happened, they actually disappeared. They really ran away? Fuck, they're messing with us. The group of people was instantly enraged. Wait, they will definitely come back, and they should be gathering the money now. 5 million is not a small sum, and they will need some time, Zhuang Rongguang said anxiously. However, this time, those people had lost their patience. "Fuck you. I think you won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Stomp this kid to death for me. How dare you? Do you know who I am? My father is Zhuang Liaoyuan." Under extreme fear, Zhuang Rongguang blurted out. When those people heard this, they did not show any signs of fear on their faces. Instead, they laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha! Zhuang Liaoyuan is your father. That Zhuang Zongren is my grandfather. How can you be Zhuang Liaoyuan's son when you're so useless? Pooh, you guys." Zhuang Rongguang was so angry that his face and neck turned red. "Stomp." The man with the golden chain looked gloomy. Then, the man with dyed blonde hair walked over with a sharp machete in his hand. The other man held Zhuang Rongguang's hand. These hooligans, they were really going to stomp his hand. Zhuang Rongguang had been in the imperial capital for a long time. Basically, everyone in the circle knew him. No matter how big the commotion was, they still had to give face to the Zhuang family. No one really dared to do anything to him. This was the first time someone dared to do this to him. Chapter 1140. No matter how muddle-headed he was only 18 years old. Zhuang Rongguang was trembling in fear, his face pale as he struggled. Wait, give me another chance. I'll call someone to send the money over. I'll definitely send it over this time. I promise. The man with the gold chain looked at the blonde and said, "Let's be clear. We want cash." I got it. Zhuang Rongguang nodded as he dialed Zhuang Ku's number. "Hello, Rongguang. It's so late, where are you? Why aren't you back yet?" Zhuang Ku'er's anxious and reproachful voice came through the phone. Sis, save me. Bring 5 million to East 3rd Avenue. There's an abandoned warehouse. Hurry up. Zhuang Ronguang didn't have time to say anything else and hurriedly shouted. What's going on? Tell me. Zhuang Ku'er's tone changed. Sis, don't ask. Just send the money over. My life is in your hands. If you don't tell me, I'll send you 5 million. Is 5 million a small amount? Did you send someone to the hospital again? No. Zhuang Ronguang could only brace himself as he looked at the people surrounding him. I owe them 5 million in gambling debt. Gambling debt? Zhuang Ronguang, are you crazy? How dare you touch this kind of thing? Zhuang Ku'er screamed angrily. Sis, lower your voice. I beg you, sis. Save me. If you don't come, they'll chop off my hand. I beg you, sis. As Zhuang Ronguang spoke, he was kicked by the person next to him, causing him to scream miserably. Don't touch him. I'll send the money over immediately. Don't touch him. Do you hear me? Zhuang Ku'er shouted. The man took Zhuang Ronguang's phone and said to the person on the other end, I'll give you 30 minutes. If you exceed 1 minute, I'll chop off one of his fingers. With that, he hung up the phone with a pah sound. Zhuang Ku'er looked at the phone that had been hung up, her face pale. Yellow, gambling, poison. That was something the Zhuang family would never allow to touch. If he touched even a little bit of it, Zhuang Liaoyuan could really kill him with one shot. Grandpa has a heart condition, so he can't get any air. He couldn't call the police either. If he did, his glory would be ruined. Fortunately, his father wasn't home tonight. Zhuang Ku'er had no choice but to gather the money overnight and immediately rush to the place the other party had mentioned. Time ticked by, and Zhuang Ronguang felt like he was being cooked in a pot of oil. He didn't know if his sister would be able to raise the money. She wouldn't just abandon him, right? After all, he had always been causing trouble for her. She would probably be annoyed to death if she had to clean up his mess. The more Zhuang Ronguang thought about his 2 friends who had abandoned him, the more afraid he became. 3 more minutes. The man looked at the time on his phone and said, Blondie blew on the sharp knife in his hand. Don't worry, I'm very skilled. 1 stab. I guarantee you won't feel any pain. The cut will be neat and clean. There's still 3 minutes left. What's the hurry? Zhuang Ronguang said with a trembling voice. The man with the golden chain sneered and continued to drink and chat with his companions. Finally, 3 minutes passed. Chapter 1141. It was only 3 minutes, but Zhuang Ronguang felt like a century had passed. The blonde gave the tattooed man a look. The tattooed man put down the bottle in his hand, walked over slowly, and pressed Zhuang Ronguang's hand. The blonde spat on the knife's edge. Kid, time's up. It's only 1 finger now. Tell me, which one should I chop first? The blonde's eyes were like a poisonous snake, scanning the youth's 10 fingers one by one. Zhuang Ronguang began to struggle like crazy. Let me go. My dad is Zhuang Liaoyuan, and my grandfather is Zhuang Zongren. If you dare to touch me, my family will never let you go. Ha. Are you sure? Even if you're really Zhuang Liaoyuan's son, you're just a piece of trash. What's the big deal if I cripple you? Maybe your family will even thank me for helping to educate you. Little brother, if you really don't understand, then let me teach you. The underworld isn't as easy as you think. If you don't pay back what you owe, then you have to pay the price. It's the same no matter where you go. Even if it's the Zhuang family, I'm not afraid. If you want to make it big, then I'd like to see who's the unlucky one. The blonde's tone was completely fearless. As he spoke, the blonde man had already separated Zhuang Ronguang's fingers and aimed the knife at his little finger. Ah. Zhuang Ronguang let out a heart-wrenching cry. Stop. At the same time, a girl's roar came from the warehouse door. The blonde first looked at the girl at the door, then impatiently patted Zhuang Ronguang's face with the back of the knife. What are you yelling for? You haven't done it yet. What a coward. Zhuang Ronguang looked at his undamaged little finger and was already scared to the point of tears and snot. Then he looked at the person at the door with a face full of hope, as if looking at the last life-saving straw Sis, sis, save me. He had always boasted that he had friends all over the world and called them brothers all the time, and at this time, he could only ask for help at all costs. Only this sister that he had always hated, Zhuang Rongwang, couldn't tell what he was feeling. Zhuang Ke stood at the door, panting. Seeing that the other party hadn't come yet, her face was full of shock. She looked at Zhuang Rongwang with disappointment and anger. The yellow-haired man's eyes swept over Zhuang Ke's body like a sticky fly. He asked faintly, "Did you bring the money?" "I brought it. Count it. 5 million, not a cent less." Zhuang Ke threw a box in front of them. The man with the gold chain carried the box over and threw it to the back for his companions to count. A few men gathered around and began to count the number. Because they were in a hurry, Zhuang Ke's suitcase contained cash, gold bars, and some jewelry. Anyway, it would definitely add up. After a while, one of them shouted, "Boss, no problem. This girl is quite honest. Can you let him go now?" Zhuang Ke asked coldly. "Of course." The yellow-haired man winked, and then the two accomplices immediately released Zhuang Rongwang. "Sis." Zhuang Rongwang wiped his tears and snot and quickly ran towards Zhuang Ke. Zhuang Ke's heart was full of anger, but she knew that this wasn't the place to talk. It was more important to leave quickly. However, just as they were about to leave, the door was suddenly blocked by a few people standing there. Chapter 1142. The blonde man raised his eyebrows. "Girl, where are you going? Didn't I give you the money? What else do you want?" "I promised to let your brother go, but I didn't promise to let you go." The blonde man looked at Zhuang Ke from head to toe. "What's the meaning of this? How can you go back on your word after taking the money?" Zhuang Rongwang was furious. The man with the gold chain laughed. "Hee, we did give you the money, but you've wasted so much time. Shouldn't we collect some interest?" "Interest?" Zhuang Ke had a bad premonition. "What bullshit interest? I think you're looking for trouble on purpose." Zhuang Rongwang was so angry that his chest heaved up and down, but Zhuang Ke pulled him back. Now that they had the advantage in numbers, it wouldn't do them any good to use force. "You want more money, right? I can raise it, but I need some time," Zhuang Ke said. The gold chain man and the yellow-haired man looked at each other and revealed a strange smile. The yellow-haired man touched his chin and looked at the woman in front of him wantonly. "There's no need for money. We don't lack that bit of money. As long as you stay and accompany us for one night, then we'll pay the interest." Zhuang Rongwang couldn't hold it in anymore. He broke free from Zhuang Ke and rushed forward. "Bastard, I'll kill you." However, he was so small that he was no match for these people. A man with a scar on his face rushed out from the crowd and punched him to the ground. "Bastard, who asked you to be so arrogant? Damn it, how dare you be so arrogant here?" At the same time, a wretched-looking man in a black singlet with tattoos all over his body walked toward Zhuang Ke step by step. Zhuang Ke didn't expect Zhuang Rongwang to mess with such a person, but it was too late to say anything. She could only stagger and retreat step by step. However, she was just a girl, and there were all men here. Where could she run to? She had only taken a few steps when the tattooed man grabbed her arm and pushed her to the ground. Her jacket was immediately torn off, revealing the thin pajamas underneath. "Yo, this girl is pretty smart, huh? You came dressed like this." The tattooed man's eyes were filled with lust, and the others also burst into laughter. When Zhuang Ke heard the news that Zhuang Rongwang had been arrested, she was burning with anxiety. The other party only gave her 30 minutes to raise the money, or they would chop off her fingers. How could she have time to change her clothes? She could only put on a coat and came out. She did not even have time to change her shoes. She was still wearing slippers. "Let go. Let me go." Zhuang Ke struggled and slapped him. The tattooed man's face emitted a pah sound. Suddenly, he was filled with hostility and started to tear Zhuang Ke's clothes. "Bastard. All of you stop. If you have the ability, come at me. Don't touch my sister." In the corner, Zhuang Rongwang saw Zhuang Ke, who was pressed to the ground, and his face suddenly twisted. Just now, she was beaten to the ground and was on the verge of death. At this time, she suddenly jumped up and fought with the two men like crazy. "Don't touch her! Don't touch her! If you have the guts, come at me." Zhuang Rongguang didn't know where he got the strength from, but he actually broke free from the two strong men and rushed to Zhuang Ke, trying to push the tattooed man away. Chapter 1143. As a result, the man was instantly enraged. He waved his fist and roared at Zhuang Rongguang. The others who were watching also pounced on Zhuang Rongguang. "Rongguang!" Zhuang Ke clutched her messy clothes and screamed. The next second, Zhuang Ke was slapped to the ground. The tattooed man pulled her hair even more roughly and dragged her to a corner. "Bitch, what the hell are you screaming for? Get over here. You'll have to scream later." Sis, let go of her." Zhuang Rongguang was surrounded and beaten up by the men. Gradually, he could no longer make a sound. He could only stare in the direction Zhuang Ke was being dragged away. His eyes were bloodshot with tears. Seeing Zhuang Ke being dragged away, pressed to the ground by the man, and having her clothes torn, and he could do nothing but watch helplessly as his sister was taken by the hooligan, Zhuang Rongguang felt that his heart was about to explode. His throat was already hoarse, and he could only let out a weak roar like a trapped beast in his throat. "Don't touch my sister! Don't touch my sister! Don't touch my sister! Don't touch her!" He had never hated himself as much as he did at that moment. He hated himself. He wanted to kill himself. He wanted nothing more than to kill himself with a single slash. He was an animal. He was an animal. Beside the warehouse door, the man with the gold chain lit a cigarette for the blondie and revealed a worried expression. "Is that enough? Wasn't this a little too much? Master Gu said it was just to scare them. What's the rush? Since it's a scare, of course it has to be done. Boss wants to be a hero, saving a damsel in distress to win her favor, right? The more realistic it is, the better the effect." The blondie spoke unhurriedly. The man with the gold chain looked in the direction of Zhuang Ke in the corner and revealed a wretched smile. "I'm afraid that if this goes on, old K really won't be able to hold it in anymore. That girl is so fresh. He can't hold it in. Can't hold it in anymore? Let us brothers have some fun." The blondie looked in the direction of the tattooed man, who was clearly losing control, and sneered. The man with the gold chain's expression changed. "Hey, don't mess around. That is Zhuang Liao Yuan's daughter." "Tisk, so what if she's Zhuang Liao Yuan's daughter?" Blondie slowly took out his phone and prepared to call his employer. However, at this moment, a person appeared at the door like a ghost. She was wearing a burgundy dress with high heels and a black windbreaker on the outside. Her naturally curly hair draped over her shoulders like seaweed. It turned out to be a woman as beautiful as a fairy. The cigarette in the man's mouth fell to the ground, and the yellow-haired man forgot to make a call. Even the man who was tearing Zhuang Ke's clothes was stunned when he saw the woman at the door. "Xiaoxi, let's go. Let's go. Leave this place quickly. Let's go." Just now, when those people were not paying attention, Zhuang Ke nervously pressed a number and then quickly and secretly sent a message for help to that number. However, when she saw that it was Ningxi's number, she regretted it. She was afraid that Ningxi would be in danger because of her. Who would have thought that the thing she was most worried about would still happen at this moment? Seeing that Ningxi actually came alone, Zhuang Ke's face was suddenly full of horror, and she hurriedly shouted for Ningxi to leave. At the door of the dilapidated warehouse, against the dim moonlight outside, the woman's black windbreaker fluttered in the night wind. When her gaze fell on the corner, she saw a disheveled girl who was almost pressed under a man's body. In an instant, a murderous look appeared in her eyes. The blondie at the door stared at the unexpected appearance of Ningxi, and his face was suddenly full of lust. "Yo, another girl? I was just worried that I wouldn't have enough to share." However, just as he finished speaking, a gust of wind blew past, and a huge force smashed into his temple. The yellow-haired man was kicked to the ground and laid there motionless. He was actually knocked unconscious by the kick. Chapter 1144. Seeing that the situation was not right, the others suddenly became vigilant and all rushed up together. However, this woman's movement was like a ghost. No matter what they did, they couldn't get close to her. Instead, they were beaten to the ground one after another. They had encountered countless powerful policemen and escaped from the pursuit of the police countless times, but they had never encountered such a powerful opponent. This woman, who was she, with a cold and expressionless face? She stepped on the men who were rolling on the ground and wailing, and walked step by step to Xianxia. Xiaoxi. Xianxia covered her body with her arms, trembling uncontrollably. She calmly took off her windbreaker and wrapped it tightly around Xianxia. Xiaoxi, be careful. Xianxia saw that the tattooed man behind her had gotten up with a stick in his hand and was about to hit Ningxi's head. She carefully placed Xianxia against the wall and then suddenly turned around. Instead of retreating, she moved forward. Before the stick in the man's hand fell, she kicked the man's wrist. The stick fell to the ground with a bang, and then the man was kicked to the ground. Until he fell to the ground, the man still didn't know why this woman's moves could be so fast, and each move accurately hit his fatal point. She looked down at the tattooed man who was beaten to the ground, and then at the man who had just bullied Xianxia. Then, without a word, she bent down and squatted in front of him, grabbed his collar, and the next second, she punched the man's face hard, and then another, and another. The girl's face was hollow and expressionless, as if she was isolated from the outside world. She was completely immersed in her own world. Her movements were mechanical as she punched the man again and again. The empty warehouse kept emitting horrifying sounds of bang, 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 bang. The man's face was almost unrecognizable, and Ningxi's hands were completely dyed red with blood. She couldn't tell if it was the man's blood or if it was the blood from her own hand. When she hit the man with too much force, however, she didn't stop at all. Her punches were fiercer and fiercer, and her eyes didn't seem to be human. She was like a devil who had climbed out of hell. Everyone present was stunned. The men just now all fell to the ground, their legs weak, their faces full of fear. Even Zhuang Rongguang and Zhuang Ke were terrified. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded behind Ningxi. Bitch! Stop! Raise your hands! The man with the golden chain was actually holding a gun in his hand, and the black muzzle was pointing at Ningxi's head. Zhuang Rongguang and Zhuang Ke's faces instantly changed. Xiaoxi. Ningxi's attention was attracted. She dropped the tattooed man and wiped the blood off the corner of her mouth with the back of her hand. Her eyes fell on the gun in the hands of the man with the golden chain. Raise your hands. Get over here. Take off your own clothes. The man with the golden chain roared. Xiaoxi. Zhuang Ke was so anxious that her eyes turned red. Your target is me, isn't it? Let her go. I was, but I'm not anymore. This bitch hurt so many of our brothers, and she wants to let it go like this? No way. The men who had just fallen to the ground struggled to get up and surrounded Ningxi fiercely. The atmosphere was extremely tense. Rongguang, cover Ke's eyes. Ningxi said calmly. Zhuang Rongguang didn't know what was going on with him. Before his brain could react, his body had quickly followed Ningxi's request. He stumbled over and covered Zhuang Ke's eyes. At the moment when Zhuang Rongguang covered Zhuang Ke's eyes, a bang sound of a gunshot rang out in the empty night sky. The man with the golden chain fell to the ground with his eyes wide open, and there was a bloody bullet hole in the middle of his forehead. And in Ningxi's hand, there was a gun pointing straight at the place where the man with the golden chain stood just now. Chapter 1145. When the leading man with the gold chain fell to the ground with a bloody bullet hole in his forehead, the faces of all the thugs who had surrounded Ningxi changed. One of them subconsciously touched his waist, and sure enough, it was empty. The gun in the woman's hand was clearly his gun, and he didn't know when she had touched it. Damn it! Out of the 3 leaders in their group, one of them had fainted after being kicked by this woman as soon as she entered, another had been smashed into a bloody mess by her fists, and the last one had been killed with a single blow. These 3 people had only recently started to move around the capital. It was rumored that they were ruthless characters in the underworld, mingling in major casinos to do white flower business, and even had channels to get firearms. Now, all of them were killed by a woman. If Ning Shi, who was beating people with a cold face just now, was a lunatic, then at this moment, when she held a gun in her hand, she was simply a machine without feelings, full of murderous aura in the face of a living human life. Even people like them would tremble a little when holding a gun, but the woman in front of them, from taking out the gun to aiming to kill, from the beginning to the end, it only took half a second. This was not a delicate beauty. She was simply a female devil. Zhuang Rongwang covered Zhuang Ku'er's eyes, but he himself saw the scene of Ning Shi shooting and killing people, and his face was pale without a trace of blood. Although he was born in a military family, this was the first time in his life that he had seen someone kill someone with his own eyes. Just a few steps away from him, a living human life was gone just like that. Under the influence of his father and grandfather, he more or less knew that even if he was talented in shooting, it was completely different from actual combat. Even professional police and snipers, many of them trained for many years, but they still didn't dare to shoot at a living person. And after the first killing, they even had to go through a long period of psychological counseling. But Ning Shi, whether before or after shooting, the expression on her face didn't change at all. Zhuang Rongwang was shocked by the bloody scene in front of him. Seeing a living person being killed in front of him, his heart was filled with extreme fear. But more than that, he deeply admired the woman in front of him, as well as despised himself even more intensely. Although he was stupid, he wasn't that stupid. The moment he saw the man with the golden chain holding a gun, he realized that these people were definitely not ordinary hooligans. How could ordinary hooligans have guns? If it weren't for Ning Shi's spear just now, they would have already launched a crazy counterattack. As for him, not only did he implicate his sister, when his sister was being bullied, he could only watch helplessly without the slightest chance to retaliate. Xianxia, the moment Zhuang Ke heard the gunshot, she was swept by great panic and forcibly pulled Zhuang Rongwang's hand away from her eyes. Seeing that it was the man with the golden chain who fell down, and Ning Shi was still standing there, unscathed, Zhuang Ke felt relieved. At the same time, her eyes were full of worry. That shot was fired by Xianxia. Filthy whore. You're dead meat. You killed someone. You actually killed someone. One of the thugs struggled to suppress his fear and shouted in a trembling voice. Chapter 1146. Ning Shi's expression was as if she had heard a funny joke. Her lips curled up slightly. So, do you want me to help you call the police? You. The few thugs looked at each other, their faces pale, unable to say a word. These three people had boasted in front of them when they were drunk, saying that they were the most wanted criminals on the police's red tape, and even bragged about how many police officers they had killed. Wanted criminals of that level, if they were caught, they would be shot immediately. How would they dare to call the police? Privately setting up a casino, kidnapping for ransom, attempted rape, and harboring a fugitive. All of them would have to go to jail. The few of them looked at each other and came to the conclusion that this woman in front of them was scarier than the three bullies combined. It was better to run. Thus, the few of them broke into a run. However, they had just taken a few steps when a woman's cold voice came from behind. Stop. Everyone subconsciously stopped in their tracks. Did I allow you to leave? The woman's tone was like a summon from hell, causing everyone's calves to tremble subconsciously. Ning Shi slightly lowered her eyes, concealing a trace of the bloodthirsty excitement and madness of a wild beast before a hunt. She deliberately did not call the police, but came alone. How could she allow them to leave so easily? Tonight, no one can leave. Ning Shi's gaze swept past those people like the gaze of death, her tone without a trace of warmth. Just now, who else touched her? No, I didn't either. I swear I didn't touch a single hair on her. They were the ones who caught her just now. In an instant, everyone began to look flustered, swearing to deny, almost swearing 18 generations of their ancestors into it. Ning Shi's gaze slowly fell on one of the men who was hiding behind a few people, preparing to sneak away. Just now, when the tattooed man was tearing Ku Er's clothes, it was him who helped to hold Ku Er's hands and feet. The moment that man noticed Ningxi's gaze, he knew something was wrong. However, he did not have the time to escape. A bang sound was heard. The next second, accompanied by a pig-like wail, the man's wrist exploded into a flower of blood, rolling on the ground because of the pain. In the empty warehouse, mournful wails were incessant. Blood flowed all over the ground. Damn bitch. I want your life. The man suddenly cursed and pulled out a pistol with his other hand. But the moment he raised the gun in Ningxi's hand was knocked down. He covered his hand and rolled on the ground, wailing. This woman's gun was inhumanly fast. Beauty, spare my life. Big sis, please spare my life. We didn't even lay a finger on your friend. Really, believe us. Those who had guns were crippled, not to mention those who were unarmed. No one even had the heart to resist. The remaining people all knelt down one after another with a plop sound. However, Ningxi didn't look like she was going to let them go. The murderous aura around her was getting stronger and stronger, and the gun in her hand was pointed directly at the head of the monkey-like man. Now that both of his hands were crippled, he had no ability to resist at all. He was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Chapter 1147. Big Sister. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I don't know anything. I'm just a minion that runs errands for others. I'll do whatever the boss says. Every debt has its debtor, and it has nothing to do with me. The monkey-faced man was completely overwhelmed by fear at this moment. He looked at the gun, pointed at him, and screamed for mercy. You touched her. The woman's expression did not change at all. That gaze, she really wanted to kill him. I didn't. I just grabbed that girl's hand. No. I didn't mean it. I beg you to spare my life. I beg you. The man's legs were trembling, and there was a stinky yellow liquid dripping from his crotch. He was actually scared to the point of losing control. Ningxi did not have the patience to listen to the man's nonsense. Instead, because of his noise, the hostility in her eyes became more out of control. The picture of Xianxia being pressed under the man's body and raped repeatedly appeared in her mind. That picture gradually merged with the scene 5 years ago. It made her head hurt, and it became more and more difficult for her to control herself. Ningxi's finger pulled the trigger harder and harder, and was about to pull the trigger in the next second. Just then, a pair of warm and soft arms suddenly rushed over and hugged her from behind. Xiaoxi, enough. Calm down. I'm fine. Look at me. Xiaoxi, calm down, okay? Xiaoxi. The girl's anxious and worried voice rang in her ears again and again. Ningxi's stiff back gradually softened, and the scarlet color in her eyes also went out little by little, and her eyes became dark again. At the moment when Ningxi put down the gun, those people immediately seized the opportunity to run out. Ningxi glanced at those people out of the corner of her eye and raised her hand to shoot at the feet of one of the men who was carrying a box. The man screamed and was so scared that his soul almost left his body. He hurriedly and respectfully delivered the box in his hand to the she-devil's side before he stumbled away. Damn it. That was 5 million. Forget it. It was more important to stay alive. In that box was the 5 million that Xianxia raised overnight. We got the money back. Xiaoxi, let's get out of here. Xianxia hurriedly urged, fearing that there would be another accident. You guys go first. I'll clean up the scene, Ningxi said. But you, Xianxia was obviously worried about her. Go. Ningxi patted Xianxia's shoulder with a gentle expression. Then, her gaze shot towards Zhuang Rongguang like an ice blade. Get over here and help your sister. Oh. Zhuang Rongguang scrambled to get up. Because he was in a hurry, he tripped over the body of the man with the golden chain. He staggered and almost fell. Only then did he quickly run to Xianxia and carefully help her out. Ningxi cleverly cleaned up all the traces she had left at the scene and then called the police. Generally, such a situation would only be defined by the police as a gang fight to the death. What's more, after a few fights just now, she discovered that the three people leading the group were not ordinary hooligans. They also had the accent of the Golden Triangle, the paradise for drug dealers. They were most likely a group of criminals on the register. How did Zhuang Rongguang offend such a person? Ning, she didn't have time to think and quickly left the scene, her figure disappearing into the vast night. Chapter 1148. On the road, Zhuang Ke waited anxiously beside the car for a long time. When she saw Ning Shi come out, she finally breathed a sigh of relief and hurried to greet her. Xiaoxi, let's go. Ning Shi opened the door of the passenger seat and quickly helped Zhuang Ke into the car. Zhuang Rongguang shrank in the back seat of the car, like a quail, without saying a word. Zhuang Ke subconsciously gathered Ning Shi's coat and said uneasily, "If I go home and am seen by the servants, it may be very troublesome to explain. Go to my place first." "Okay." Zhuang Ke nodded and looked at the girl who was driving with slightly red eyes. "Xiaoxi, I'm really sorry about what happened tonight. At that time, I was in a hurry and didn't think much before sending the text message. Later, I was afraid that if something bad happened to you because of me, I really couldn't absolve myself from the blame. I'm really sorry." Ning Shi glanced at Zhuang Ke from the rearview mirror. Her eyes were no longer as bloody as they had been in the warehouse. She said softly, "Don't say sorry. I'm very happy that you think of me at this time." Looking at Ning Shi's gentle look, Zhuang Ke couldn't tell what she felt. She took out a tissue and wiped the blood on Ning Shi's cheek. "But, Xiaoxi, how did you get here so fast? I've been on a business trip in another province these days. I'm flying back to the capital tonight. I saw your text message on the way home by taxi from the airport. Fortunately, the car was not far from here. Otherwise, if she had been one step late, she couldn't imagine what would have happened." Hearing this, Zhuang Ke showed a look of understanding, and then her face was full of worry. "Xiaoxi, will this matter affect you? After all, you just—" Ning Shi tilted her head and gave Zhuang Ke a reassuring look. "Trust my anti-tracking ability." "Okay." Zhuang Ke nodded hard. She trusted the person in front of her unconditionally and without reason. In the back seat, Zhuang Rongguang stared at Ning Shi in trance. In his eyes, there was a kind of yearning and longing that he didn't even notice. He wanted to be such a person who could be relied on, a person who could be trusted and relied on unreservedly. He wanted to be a real man. Half an hour later, Ning Shi drove the car to her villa. Entering the room, Ning Shi immediately found a set of clean clothes for Zhuang Ke. "Go take a hot bath and change your clothes." "Yes." After Zhuang Ke left to take a shower, Zhuang Rongguang stood in the living room at a loss. He had thought that with Ning Shi's temper, she would definitely scold him and perhaps even beat him half to death. So he had long been prepared to face everything. In the end, Ning Shi didn't even look at him, let alone scold him. It was as if he was invisible and completely ignored. Ning Shi's indifferent attitude made him feel worse than scolding or beating him up. After a while, Zhuang Ke came out of the shower. Ning Shi asked Steam Bun to bring her the medical kit, and then called Zhuang Ke to sit beside her. "Come here. Let me have a look at your injuries." Ning Shi only took a quick glance and saw that Zhuang Ke's wrists and neck were full of shocking strangulation marks. Her snow-white skin made them even more glaring, not to mention the green and purple marks on her exposed skin. Chapter 1149. Seeing Ning Shi's face becoming more and more gloomy, and even faintly showing some of the emotions that she had lost control in the warehouse, Zhuang Ke hurriedly took her hand and comforted her. "Xiaoxi, it's not a big deal. It's just a superficial wound." However, hearing this, Ning Shi's face did not show any signs of improvement. This was just a superficial wound. For any woman, the trauma that such an incident would bring to their hearts, and even the fear that would affect their entire lives in the future, could not be measured by the number of external wounds. Moreover, Zhuang Ke was an innocent girl who had been well protected since she was a child. She had never been wronged like this and encountered such a terrible thing since she was a child. Fortunately, She came in time, and those people did not succeed. Otherwise, she would not let any of them go tonight, including Zhuang Rongguang. Ningxi took a deep breath and finally restrained the raging gloomy aura around her. She gently applied medicine to Zhuang Ke'er's wound. It's a little painful. Bear with it. Zhuang Ke'er was afraid that Ningxi would lose control again, so she did not dare to cry out in pain. She repeatedly comforted her. It's okay, it doesn't hurt much. In the corner, Zhuang Rongguang, who had not said a word since they arrived at the warehouse, stared blankly at the terrible bruises on Zhuang Ke'er's body. In his mind, the scene that Zhuang Ke'er was bullied by those people and he could not even move a finger was replayed crazily. The gloomy clouds around the boy became denser and denser, and the pressure became lower and lower. In the end, it seemed that he had finally reached the limit and suddenly exploded. Zhuang Rongguang's fists creaked and his back trembled more and more violently. In the quiet living room, the boy's throat uttered intermittent sobs and whimpers like a trapped beast, and then the sound became louder and louder. Hearing the sound behind her, Ningxi stopped applying medicine to Zhuang Ke'er's wound. She turned around and looked at the boy who was covered in blood and ashes and crying uncontrollably with scarlet eyes. To be honest, the person she wanted to kill the most in the warehouse was Zhuang Rongguang. The reason why she had not spoken to Zhuang Rongguang or even looked at him was that she was afraid that she would lose control. With her temper, it was a waste of air to keep such a scumbag alive. Ningxi treated the last wound on Zhuang Ke'er's body. Then, she put down the medicine bottle in her hand and closed the lid of the medicine box. She looked up at the boy calmly. Zhuang Rongguang, you want freedom, you want to be unrestrained, you want to live a life without being controlled by anyone, right? Well, let me tell you, whether it's smoking, drinking, fighting, racing, or gambling, that's right, it's all your freedom. You're already 18 years old, an adult. You have the right to choose the life you want. Even your parents have no right to decide your future. You could do whatever you want. At this point, Ningxi's eyes suddenly turned cold. But the premise is that you have the ability to bear all the consequences of your choice. If not, then don't fucking say not to interfere with your life all day long, while letting your loved ones worry about you and put themselves in danger. Asking a girl who doesn't even have the strength to trust a chicken to raise 5 million in the middle of the night and rush to such a chaotic and dangerous place to get money, to ransom you. Ask yourself, are you still a man? Zhuang Rongguang choked with tears and walked to Zhuang Ke'er. He knelt down and slapped himself hard in the face. Sister, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Chapter 1150. Sister, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Seeing her brother kneeling in front of her and crying, Zhuang Ke'er felt sorry for him, but she also felt helpless. She had watched him become like this step by step over the years. She was so numb that she didn't have any hope for him. She didn't expect him to make great achievements, nor did she want him to be the leader of the Liu family in the future. Her only hope was that he could live safely. But now, he almost lost his life. She was at her wit's end with her brother. But now, seeing his apologetic and remorseful look, she didn't dare to have any hope. No one knew if he would return to his original self after the incident. Last time, he went to practice shooting because of Ningxi, and it only lasted for a few days. Zhuang Ke'er's belly full of words finally turned into a helpless sigh. Get up. Don't go to that kind of place again. Zhuang Rongguang nodded hard, wiped his tears, and stood up. Where are your two friends, Sun Bin and Liang Haoqiang? Are they all right? Zhuang Ke'er was suddenly remembered and hurriedly asked with concern. As far as she knew, Rongguang was always inseparable from his two best friends. The two of them were famous hedonistic sons in the capital. They were ignorant and incompetent. When the three of them got together, they stirred up trouble all day long. Therefore, they must have played a part in this incident. Zhuang Rongguang's face changed when he heard Zhuang Ke'er mention those two people. Oh, those two people, once something happened, they ran away without a trace. Until now, they didn't even call him. They didn't even care about his life. Both of them had their cards blocked by their families. He was the only one who could still get a little from Xianxia, and he had to share it with them every time. He thought that he was very generous and righteous, but who knew that he was just a sucker, a complete idiot. Xianxia seemed to have guessed something from his expression. She sighed and didn't ask anymore. They probably ran away and didn't have time to care about him. She had told him countless times not to associate with those messy people. But every time she mentioned it, he would fly into a rage and say that she didn't respect his friends. Then they parted on bad terms, and he didn't go home for a few days. Now, are you going back or staying here for one night? Ning, she asked. Xiaoxi, can I stay here for one night? Xianxia asked tentatively. Ning, she nodded. Of course. Xianxia immediately became happy. Then I'll leave a message to the nanny. Ronguang raised his hand weakly. I want to stay here too. Would that work? Sister Ning. Ning, she glanced at him expressionlessly. The sofa. Ronguang immediately said, no problem. You could even sleep on the floor. I'll guard the door for you in the living room. Sleep with me tonight. Ning, she said to Xianxia. Well, okay. Xianxia naturally couldn't ask for more. He went into the bedroom. Ning, she made the bed, and then they lay on the bed. In order to prevent Xianxia from having nightmares at night, Ning, she had been looking for a relaxing and interesting topic to chat with her to distract her. Xianxia lay on the soft and comfortable mattress that emitted the scent of sunshine. Beside him was the girl's warm and sweet scent, and in his ears was a soft tone. The last trace of fear in his heart was gone. Chapter 11:51. It turned out that this was how it felt to have a friend with whom she could share her happiness and troubles and sleep in the same bed with at night. How nice, Xiaoxi. Thank you. I'm really not afraid at all. At the beginning, I was really scared and desperate. I was confused, but fortunately you came, so it's okay now. You don't have to worry about me anymore. While Ning, she was comforting Xianxia was also comforting her. That's good. Go to sleep. Okay, good night. At night, the two girls snuggled up to sleep. Although Ning, she closed her eyes, she didn't fall asleep until she heard a steady breathing sound beside her. At night, Xianxia slept soundly. There was a faint warmth on her face. She didn't panic or have nightmares at all. Ning Shi's heart, which had been in her throat all this time, slowly relaxed. Fortunately, she didn't want to see another her. She tried her best to stop this from happening and comforted Xianxia as if she was saving herself. Just then, there was a light knock on the door. Ning Shi got up slightly. Come in. The door was gently pushed open, and Ronguang stood quietly at the door. Sister Shi, is my sister asleep? Ning Shi, yes. Ronguang looked at Ning Shi and hesitated. Sister Shi, can I talk to you? Ning Shi glanced at him, gently lifted the quilt, and got out of bed. In the living room, Ronguang stood in front of Ning Shi as if he had nowhere to put his hands and feet. Then he quickly rushed to the side and dragged a chair to Ning Shi's side. Sister Shi, sit down. Then he poured her a glass of water and brought it to her. Then he stood in front of her, twisting and turning, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't. Ning Shi picked up the glass, took a sip of water, and squinted at the hesitant boy. Just say it. Ronguang bit his lip and hung his head. After hesitating for a long time, he said listlessly, Sister Shi, can I still be saved? Ning Shi raised her eyes and glanced at the nervous boy, who seemed to be waiting for her to pronounce his death sentence. God helps those who help themselves. You can still stand here today and ask me this question, which means that you can still be saved. Hearing this, Ronguang's tense back suddenly relaxed a little. His eyes were slightly red. I know the story of the boy who cried wolf. I'm afraid that no matter what I say now, you won't believe me. But this time, I will prove it with my actions. Ronguang stared at Ning Shi with bright eyes and said excitedly, Sister Shi, I want to be a man like you in the future. The corners of Ning Shi's mouth twitched. Your dream. No, the main point is, damn it, I'm a woman. Sister Shi, what did you do before? Is he really just an ordinary actor? Ronguang asked with excitement and curiosity. Ningxi's eyes flickered. What if I say no? Zhuang Rongwang was shocked by the dangerous glint in the girl's eyes. He then said firmly, no matter what you did in the past, good or evil, good or bad, you treated my sister so well and helped us so much. In my heart, you're a good person. Besides, being kind to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. You were so manly when you shot him. Thank you. Chapter 1152. Late at night, in a high-class villa area in the imperial capital, Ning Shuo paced back and forth in the living room, her face full of anger. I waited all night for your call, and now you're telling me that there was an accident. You keep saying that it's foolproof and that you don't need me to teach you how to do things, but you can't even handle a girl like Zhuang Ke and that good-for-nothing Zhuang Rongguan. Is this how you do things? Little girl, you were the one who said that Zhuang Ke wouldn't dare to tell the Zhuang family because of Zhuang Rongguan, but now all my people are dead. It's obviously the Zhuang family. I've lost 3 people on my side because of your trivial matter, and you still dare to yell at me? The voice on the other end of the phone was obviously very angry. No matter what, this is all because of your incompetence. You must think of a way to solve this problem. It was already risky for you to touch the Zhuang family, but now you've alerted them. Do you want me to get involved because of this? This matter ends here. The voice on the other end of the phone hung up. You. Hello? Ning Shuo threw the phone hard, her face full of anger. The next morning, outside the house, the sun was shining brightly, birds were singing, and flowers were fragrant. Pink petals were blowing from the hillside not far away, along with the spring breeze, and the air was filled with a faint fragrance. Zhuang Rongguang, who used to laze in bed and be late for class every day, actually woke up early in the morning. Then he quietly drove to a famous breakfast snack shop in the capital far away and went to buy breakfast for his 2 sisters at home. Not long after Zhuang Rongguang left, a black Maybach drove slowly and stopped in front of the retro and quiet building. Lu Tingxiao pushed the door open and got out of the car, then went to the back seat and carried his son out. As soon as he got out of the car, Xiao Baozi twisted his body to the ground and quickly ran to the door. After running to the door, the little fellow was stunned. Because he was not tall enough, he could not press the password lock. Therefore, the little fellow could only bear the humiliation and turned around, opening his short arms, indicating that he wanted his father to carry him. Lu Tingxiao looked at his son, anxiously stretching out his short arms to hug him. He stood there with his arms crossed, showing no intention of hugging him. His attitude was clear, call him daddy. Little Baozi naturally knew what Papa meant. He puffed his cheeks, and his big eyes were filled with anger and accusation. Finally, the little fellow took out a small black remote control from somewhere. After fiddling with it for a while, the door opened from the inside with a click. Welcome home, cute and adorable mommy's favorite little master. The person who opened the door was the robot Mantu. Little Bun touched the steamed bun as a reward, then looked at her papa proudly. Lu Tingxiao lowered his eyes and chuckled. His expression was helpless and doting. His son being too smart was also a headache, but who could he blame for inheriting it? After the door opened, Little Bun immediately ran in. Lu Tingxiao watched as his son tiptoed and gently opened the door to his mother's bedroom. Strangely, this time, he didn't go in immediately like he usually did. Instead, he squatted at the door and looked a little hesitant. What's wrong? Lu Tingxiao subconsciously walked in the direction of the bedroom. As soon as he approached, he saw that there were 2 bumps on Ningxi's bed. Clearly, there were 2 people lying there. Chapter 1153. Ningxi was sleeping soundly, and beside her was Zhuang Ke, who was wearing Ningxi's pajamas and intimately leaning into Ningxi's embrace. Lu Tingxiao's face instantly darkened. She had gone on a business trip for so long and came back in the middle of the night. Not to see him, but to sleep with another woman for the whole night? Zhuang Ke didn't know if it was because she felt this strong resentment, but she opened her eyes in a daze. When she saw Lu Tingxiao at the door, she was startled. Ah, At the same time, Ningxi also woke up. The moment she saw Lu Tingxiao, her expression changed. She turned over and sat up. She immediately said, "Fuck. Wifey, let me explain." Lu Tingxiao. As soon as Ningxi said this, she felt that something was wrong. Fuck. She was in a daze. It was all Zhuang Rongwang's fault. Last night, she kept saying man and man, making her think that she was really a man. Ningxi coughed lightly and scratched her head. She hurriedly switched back to her normal state. "Ward boss, why are you here?" "Aya, my steam bun is here too. Go wait outside first. Mama will be up soon." Little Bun nodded obediently and then obediently went to the living room. Lu Tingxiao pinched his eyebrows. "You guys change first." Then he gently closed the door. Ningxi was looking for clothes for herself and Zhuang Ke to change into. When she turned her head, she saw Zhuang Ke was sitting on the bed with an unhappy expression. She immediately asked anxiously, "Ke, what's wrong?" Zhuang Ke looked up at Ningxi and mumbled, "I don't know why, but I feel that Lu Tingxiao seems to hate me." The corner of Ningxi's mouth twitched. "Why do you care about him? It's fine as long as I like you." Zhuang Ke nodded. Only then did she feel a little happier. Ningxi's words were domineering, but her little heart was already thumping. It was obvious that the great Demon King's epic vinegar jar had been overturned again. Ningxi put on her clothes and walked to the living room. Little Bun immediately ran over, looking as if a day apart felt like 3 years. Ningxi happily picked up little steamed Bun and rubbed her face against his soft little face. "Oh, whoa, steamed Bun, I miss you so much. Mama, give me a kiss." Out of the corner of her eye, Ningxi saw Lu Tingxiao sitting on the sofa in his elegant and cold attire. After coaxing Little Bun, she immediately leaned over and kissed the corner of the man's lips. She whispered in the man's ear in a voice that Little Bun couldn't hear, "Of course. I miss my sweetheart even more." Lu Tingxiao's face darkened, but he was still appeased by the girl's sweet words. However, he did not forget the most important question. A suspicious look appeared on his face. "If I remember correctly, it was already midnight when you arrived at the capital last night." In other words, it was unreasonable for Zhuang Ke to appear at her place at this time. As he spoke, Lu Tingxiao's gaze fell on the sofa opposite him. It was obvious that someone had slept there. At this moment, the doorbell rang. Could it be that brat Zhuang Rongwang? Ningxi immediately went to open the door. It was indeed Zhuang Rongwang standing outside. Sister Shi, I bought breakfast for you." Ningxi scratched her head, then explained to Lu Tingxiao in the tone of a primary school student reporting homework to the teacher. "Actually, it's because Zhuang Rongwang got into trouble again and angered Chief Zhuang. Soker brought him here overnight to temporarily avoid trouble." Chapter 1154. Hearing this, Zhuang Rongwang immediately looked at Lu Tingxiao and said, "Sorry, brother-in-law Shi. I'm sorry to bother you." Hearing Zhuang Rongwang call him brother-in-law Shi, Lu Tingxiao's expression softened. Seeing that the crisis was over, Ningxi finally breathed a sigh of relief and secretly gave Zhuang Rongwang a well-done look. Zhuang Rongwang looked at Ningxi with an indescribable expression. Ever since they met, every time he saw Ningxi, she would be arrogant as if she was the best in the world. This was the first time he saw her so afraid of someone. Well, was this the legendary henpecked? Zhuang Rongwang carried a dozen big and small bags in his hands. The breakfast he bought was very sumptuous, enough for the 5 of them to eat. "Sister, have some buns. These are your favorite crab buns from Yixing restaurant. I couldn't get them even if I waited in line. The boss cut the line because he knew me." Zhuang Rongwang handed a delicate small box to Zhuang Ke. Then he went up to Ningxi and said, "Sister Shi, I don't know what you like to eat, so I bought a little bit of everything. You can eat whatever you like. I waited in line to buy them from a famous old restaurant in the capital." Zhuang Rongwang was good at eating, drinking, and playing. The breakfast he bought was indeed a famous snack in the capital, and he had lined up very early. Obviously, he had put a lot of effort into it. "Thanks." Ningxi found a shrimp bun for Little Bun, then handed a fruit jianbing to the devil and said softly, "Mr. Boss, I'm sure you haven't eaten this before. Try it. It's delicious." After that, he eagerly fed it to the Demon King's mouth. Looking at the girl's attentive look, Lu Tingxiao was obviously satisfied. He lowered his head and took a bite of the girl's hand. "How is it? Is it delicious?" Ning Shi asked. "Brother-in-law Shi, it's cheap, but I bought the best fruit Jianbing in the capital. Not bad." He didn't care where he bought it. It was purely because his wife fed him. During breakfast, Zhuang Ronguang's gaze fell on Lu Tingxiao. He looked at Lu Tingxiao with even more reverence than when he looked at Ning Shi. He had heard of Lu Tingxiao before. When he heard that his family had the intention of marrying into the Lu family, he was very disdainful. He thought that Lu Tingxiao was just an ordinary businessman who made a lot of money. But now, he had completely changed his view. How could a man who could handle Sister Shi and make her behave like a woman in front of him be an ordinary person? I'm getting more and more curious. How did he deal with Sister Shi? After breakfast, the siblings also knew that Ning Shi had just returned from a business trip for a long time, so they sensibly proposed to leave without disturbing the family of three. Before leaving, Zhuang Ronguang sneaked up to Lu Tingxiao while Ning Shi was talking to Zhuang Ku'er. He asked the question that he had been thinking about during the meal. "Well, Brother Shi, can I ask you a question?" "Ask." "Ahem, I'm just curious. How did you deal with Sister Shi?" Zhuang Ronguang asked humbly. Hearing this, Lu Tingxiao glanced at the boy out of the corner of his eye and then pondered. Zhuang Ronguang held his breath and waited for his answer. After a while, Lu Tingxiao finally said, "Beauty." Zhuang Ronguang, the author's Weibo is doing a lucky draw. Those who are interested can go and have a try. My Sina Weibo ID. The charming Weibo. Chapter 1155. Zhuang Mansion. After Zhuang Ku'er and Zhuang Ronguang reached home, Zhuang Ronguang spent a lot of effort to dig out his moldy school bag from his messy room. The textbooks in the bag were almost all brand new. There was also a brand new English dictionary and learning machine. All the stationery was very complete. Zhuang Ke had personally prepared it for him. Zhuang Ronguang patted the dust off his school bag and then rummaged through the messy wardrobe for a set of high school uniform that he had never worn before. There was a shiny school badge on the uniform, which was engraved with the words Imperial Capital Hongwen High School. After finding the school uniform and bag, Zhuang Ronguang found a hairdresser and went to the bathroom. He changed his most treasured and cool hairstyle into an old-fashioned crew cut that he hated the most. Zhuang Ronguang used a towel to wipe the hair on his face and neck. He stared at himself in the mirror for a long time until tears welled up in his eyes uncontrollably. The young man's fingers were on the washstand. He took a deep breath and forced back his tears. He then went back to his bedroom, put on his school uniform, and carried his school bag. Zhuang Ronguang closed the door and left his bedroom. When he passed by Zhuang Ku'er's room, Zhuang Ronguang stopped in his tracks. He looked at the delicate figure in the room who had always protected him. He called out softly, "Sis." Zhuang Ke was folding clothes in the room. When she heard the voice, she subconsciously looked toward the door. The next second, when she saw the young man at the door, she was stunned. "You?" Ronguang. The young man was tall and straight. He was wearing a damp blue school uniform and had a school bag on his back. His neat short hair made him look very spirited, especially the light in the young man's eyes, which were sparkling like the rising sun. This is her brother. Although he was still the same person, he looked like a completely different person. She had never seen him like this before. For a moment, Zhuang Ke almost couldn't recognize him. She stood there in a daze for a long time. Zhuang Ronguang looked at his sister in front of him and greeted her. "Sis, I'm going to school." Hearing her brother's words, Zhuang Ke snapped out of her daze and said reflexively, "Oh, go ahead. It's still early, be careful." "Okay, got it." Zhuang Ronguang nodded and looked at Zhuang Ke. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he said nothing and left without looking back. "Sister," she said that a man should act, not talk. Zhuang Ke stood there in a daze for a long time, then hurriedly ran to the balcony. Standing on the balcony, She stared blankly at Zhuang Ronguang's back as he left with his backpack. Her eyes were filled with bitterness. That 18-year-old boy seemed to have grown up overnight. Capital Hongwen High School. Zhuang Ronguang was actually quite good-looking. It was just that he was always dressed like a punk. He would cause trouble all day long and interact with bad people outside the school. His classmates would shake their heads and avoid him whenever they saw him. It was rush hour. Zhuang Ronguang was dressed in his school uniform and had short hair. He carried his school bag on one shoulder and had one hand in his pocket as he walked along the tree-lined road in front of the school. He attracted a lot of attention along the way, especially from the female students. They gathered in groups of 3 to 5 and chatter away. Wow, who is that guy? So handsome. I don't know her. I've never seen him before. I didn't know there was such a handsome guy in our school. Why do I think he looked a bit like Zhuang Ronguang? Zhuang Ronguang? That punk. Are you fucking kidding me? More and more people were talking. Finally, one of the girls said impatiently, "Stupid, just call him and you'll know if he's the one." With that, she made a trumpet shape with her hands and shouted at the back of the boy in front of her, "Hey, Zhuang Ronguang, Zhuang Ronguang." When Zhuang Ronguang heard someone calling him, he subconsciously stopped in his tracks and turned around. "What's the matter?" Chapter 1156. Behind him, the jaws of all the students who were talking about him dropped to the ground. Fuck. It's really Zhuang Ronguang. Did that kid go for plastic surgery? Could it be that plastic surgery can also change the brain? Ha ha ha, that's right. Can plastic surgery cure a retard? There was a burst of laughter and discussion. Based on Zhuang Ronguang's temper in the past, he would have rushed up to pick a fight with his fists. However, perhaps because of the life-and-death situation last night, he felt that he was so childish that he wanted to slap himself. These people were right. He was indeed a retard in the past. Seeing Zhuang Ronguang turn his head and see them laughing at him, but he did not say a word. He just turned around and walked back to the school building. Everyone was surprised. What's going on? Did he take the wrong medicine? I think his family messed with him. Did his family mess with him enough? He's just mud that can't hold up a wall. I feel like I've been stimulated by something. Hey, why are you talking so much? Isn't it good to have another handsome guy in school? You guys can have school, Hongzhang. I'm going to pursue a new goal. A day of classes felt like a year to Zhuang Ronguang. Because he had never attended a class before, he did not understand anything. The whole day was like listening to a book from heaven, which made it even more difficult. Finally, school was over. The young man's expression was a little gloomy. Fortunately, he was only a little disappointed and did not look like he had given up. At the school gate, 2 people squatted in a corner not far away. They were dressed in strange clothes and had dyed hair. They had cigarettes in their hands and were staring at the stream of people leaving school while puffing out clouds of smoke. One of them took out his phone and dialed a number. "Hello, Photon, where are you? Why is your phone turned off when I call you?" Opposite you, Zhuang Ronguang stood at the school gate and looked at his 2 former best friends. Sunbin held his phone and looked around the school gate. Then his eyes fixed on a boy who was holding a phone. The next second, the cigarette in his mouth fell to the ground. "You, Photon?" Zhuang Ronguang hung up and walked in front of the 2. "What's up?" Sun Bin and Liang Haoqiang looked at the young man in front of them as if they had seen a ghost. "Photon, are you okay?" Zhuang Ronguang looked at the time on his phone and looked a little impatient. "If you have something to say, say it. If not, I'm going home." Cough. "Photon, are you angry because of what happened last night? We really don't have a choice. Where are we going to raise so much money? By the way, how did you get out later? Did your sister send money over?" Sunbin asked. "Did you ask for more from your sister? Let's go and recoup our losses tonight. You're so lucky. You'll definitely be able to recoup your losses today." Liang Haoqiang rubbed his hands excitedly. Last night, when he waited for the 2 of them, he had thought countless times that he would beat them up if he saw them again. But when it really came to this, he didn't even want to waste his energy talking to them. If he was really betrayed by his brothers, he could still be angry, but these 2, what kind of brothers were they? "Scram!" Zhuang Ronguang directly said to the 2 of them, and then walked away without looking back. Chapter 1157. The Zhuang Family. Recently, a few of Zhuang Liaoyuan's old comrades had come to the imperial capital from other provinces for business. Since it was rare for them to get together, Zhuang Liaoyuan specially invited them to his home as guests. Zhuang Ke methodically entertained the guests, and then went to the kitchen to instruct the servants to prepare dinner. In the living room, a middle-aged man with a 3-star epaulet on his shoulder warmly greeted, "How has the old chief been recently?" "Father has been in the military sanatorium recently, and his body is still healthy," Zhuang Liaoyuan replied as he poured tea for them. "Sister-in-law hasn't been transferred back yet. I've already reported it to the higher-ups, but I think it'll be difficult to get it approved. Sigh. Luckily you have Kur by your side. I haven't seen her for a few years, and she's really grown into a slender and elegant woman. I wonder which kid will be so lucky in the future. I bet even Zhuang Liaoyuan can't bear to let such a good daughter get married." Haha. Listening to the teasing of his comrades, Zhuang Liaoyuan's expression was very comforted at the mention of this daughter who was good at everything. His wife was very secretive when it came to military research. She was stationed in the research lab all year round and couldn't come back, devoting all her time to her career and country. Zhuang Liaoyuan spent most of his time in the military, so everything at home was handled by Kur. "Right, how's Rongwang recently?" one of them asked casually. As soon as the question left his mouth, the other comrades beside him immediately shook their heads nervously at him. Why did he have to mention it? The person who asked the question just now seemed a little embarrassed, but the question had already been asked, and there was no way to take it back. Zhuang Liaoyuan's face was full of bitterness as he looked at the nervous expressions of his comrades, because they were worried about his reputation. He had lost all his face because of that kid, so why would he care about his reputation anymore? Even if he had a temper made of iron, he was now disheartened. "Rongguang, it's still the same," Zhuang Liaoyuan said. The words "the same" already expressed all his helplessness. "Hey, right, let me tell you guys some big news. Do you remember the 3 drug kingpins who ran away 4 years ago? Old K, Poison Eye, and Dragonhead. Someone diverted everyone's attention. Remember, what's wrong?" Sure enough, everyone was quite interested in this topic. They've all been caught. Old K was seriously injured, and his face was disfigured. Dragonhead was shot in the head and died on the spot. Only Poison Eye fared slightly better, with a concussion. They're all locked up in the police station. Is that so? Zhuang Liaoyuan's attention was also attracted. Who did this? We couldn't find anything. That place was remote, and there were no surveillance cameras or witnesses. Later, we found a few hooligans who usually hung out with them. Their testimonies were consistent. They all said that they got drunk and started fighting among themselves. Even Old K and Poison Eye said so themselves, and there didn't seem to be any problems from the traces at the scene. But I still feel that there's something fishy. Who cares? It didn't matter if it was a fight between themselves or someone else. It was still a good thing. Damn it. In order to catch these 3 fish that escaped the net, we lost 2 of our comrades. In the living room, Zhuang Liaoyuan and the others were chatting enthusiastically. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. "I'm back." "Oh, Gloria's back, right?" Everyone looked towards the door. Chapter 1158. Why did he come back so early? Zhuang Liaoyuan had a suspicious look on his face. That brat always came back after he was done playing outside. Moreover, he had not been home recently, so he should be even more lawless. As Zhuang Liaoyuan was thinking about this, he turned around and looked at the door with a straight face. He was about to scold him like he always did when he was about to say something like, "You still know how to come back." However, when the words were about to come out of his mouth, he suddenly stopped talking. The young man who was walking in was wearing a school uniform with a backpack on his back. He had clean short hair and looked exactly like a high school student who was full of vigor. This was his son? Not only Zhuang Liaoyuan, but his other comrades were also stunned for a long time. After all, the last time they saw Zhuang Rongguang, his hair was longer than a girl's, and he was dressed in colorful clothes like a palette. Obviously, the young man in front of them was too different from the person in their memory. "Uncle Zhang, Uncle Ling, Uncle Zhang." Zhuang Rongguang greeted the guests one by one. Only then did everyone come back to their senses. One honor. I almost didn't recognize you. Isn't that right? I was stunned for a long time, too. Fuck. Zhuang Liaoyuan, were you trying to act pitiful just now? You've grown up and become more sensible. Like I said, like father, like son. He's only a little more like a person now. Is he worth praising? Although Zhuang Liaoyuan was full of doubts, it was obviously not the time to ask too much. He could only casually say that. During dinner, Zhuang Rongguang was also well-behaved from beginning to end. In the past, this kid hated dinners where there were many elders present. Every time, he would take a few bites and then go to his room to play games or sneak out to fool around. This time, he lasted until the whole dinner was over and even followed him to send the guests to the door. After sending the guests off, before the suspicious Zhuang Liaoyuan could ask anything, the young man had already taken the initiative to look at his father and said, "Dad, I have something to ask of you." Zhuang Liaoyuan's eyebrows jumped. Good boy. So this was what he was waiting for. He suddenly became so obedient because he had something to ask of him, but this time he really went all out. He even cut off his most precious hair. Zhuang Liaoyuan's face couldn't help but be a little gloomy. He had already made up his mind that if this brat dared to mention wandering the world again, he would directly cut off the relationship between him and his son and let him wander on his own. Tell me, what's the matter? Zhuang Liaoyuan asked in the study room with a cold expression. The young man stood in front of his father, his eyes lingering on his father's silver hair for a few seconds. After a moment of absent-mindedness, he took a deep breath and said, "Dad, I would like to ask you to hire a tutor for me, or sign up for a tuition class. The college entrance examination will be in a few months, and I know that with my grades, I won't be able to get into a university even if I suck up to them. It's meaningless to rely on my family to arrange for me to get into a normal university. So, I want to enter the army and then continue to study while training in the army." Zhuang Liaoyuan was stunned from the first sentence the boy said. When the boy finished his long speech, he even lost his composure and looked at his son in disbelief. Zhuang Liaoyuan calmed himself down for a long time before asking, "What did you just say? You said you want to enter the army, to get into a military school? You want me to hire a tutor for you? Sign up for a tuition class?" Did this kid's brain break? Chapter 1159. Yes, the young man replied confidently. His expression did not look like he was joking at all. Why would you suddenly have such a thought? How can I believe that you're not doing this on a whim, or a nasty joke, or a bet? Zhuang Liaoyuan's expression was extremely stern. The young man gritted his teeth and raised his pair of resolute eyes. "Dad, I'm serious this time. As for the reason, you know that I don't have any big dreams or ambitions. I just don't want the people around me to worry about me. I just hope that when something happens, I can protect you guys. I want to be someone you can rely on and not a burden. That's all." Hearing his son's words, Zhuang Liaoyuan could not come back to his senses for a long time. If Zhuang Rongguang had said something like, "I want to protect the country and build a career," he would not have believed a single word of it. However, this was what he had said. Just as Zhuang Liaoyuan was filled with doubts, Zhuang Rongguang took out a terrifying long whip from behind his back and raised it in front of his father with both hands. "Dad, I wanted to listen to my sister and hide it from you, but I really couldn't get over it." The young man's body trembled slightly, probably because he recalled what had happened last night. "Yesterday, I left home in order to get some money. I listened to Sun Bin and Liang Haoqiang and went to the casino. In the end, I fell into someone's trap and lost 5 million. What did you say?" Hearing this short sentence, Zhuang Liaoyuan slammed the table and stood up. His expression changed abruptly. Zhuang Rongguang moved forward on his knees and placed the whip on the desk in front of Zhuang Liaoyuan. He then continued, "Those people were not locals. One look and I knew they were not to be trifled with. Moreover, they had the advantage in numbers. At that time, I was hoping that Sun Bin and Liang Haoqiang would raise money to ransom me. I didn't expect that in the end, they wouldn't come." You were hoping that these two brats would raise money to ransom you. Zhuang Liaoyuan's face was gloomy. "How did I, Zhuang Liaoyuan, have such a stupid son like you?" Then I did something even more stupid. Zhuang Rongguang's voice was hoarse. I didn't dare tell my family, and there was no one else I could ask for help. In desperation, I could only call my sister. Bastard! Zhuang Liao Yuan smashed the teacup in his hand. At the same time, a strong sense of foreboding appeared in his mind, causing his expression to change. Did something happen to your sister last night? Tell me. If Kuer hadn't met with some accident, how could this brat have changed so much? With his experience, it was easy for him to imagine what might have happened last night. When he thought of what might have happened to Kuer, Zhuang Liaoyuan's mind felt like it was falling apart. My sister has already brought enough money over according to their request, but they still won't let her go. They said that they want to charge interest, and they want my sister to stay with them for a night. In the next second, the whip in Zhuang Liaoyuan's hand landed on the young man's shoulder. Zhuang Rongguang was immediately whipped to the ground. At this time, the door was pushed open from the outside. Zhuang Ke rushed in anxiously and shielded Zhuang Rongguang to stop her father from hitting him again. Rongguang, didn't I tell you not to tell father? What's wrong with you? Zhuang Rongguang's face was pale from the pain. Sister, I don't want to hide in your arms anymore. I will bear the burden. I deserve it. Chapter 1160. Kuer, get out of my way. I'm going to kill this bastard today. Zhuang Liaoyuan was completely overwhelmed by anger. I shouldn't have been soft-hearted last time. I shouldn't have been soft-hearted. But your sister was hurt. Why didn't he just shoot this bastard last time? Why? Zhuang Liaoyuan was completely overwhelmed by remorse. More than that, he blamed himself for his incompetence. If his wife came back and knew all this, how could he explain it to her? And his father, at the thought of these things, he wished he could shoot himself and chase this guy to hell. Seeing her father completely out of control, Zhuang Ke hurriedly shouted, Dad, I'm fine. I'm fine. Nothing happened to me last night. How could Zhuang Liaoyuan believe his daughter's words? He roared with scarlet eyes. Nothing happened to me. This guy can kneel in front of me now. Kuer, get out of my way. Dad, I'm telling the truth. I'm not lying. I was almost bullied by those people last night, but Xiaoxi arrived in time to save me in Rongguang. Rongguang and I spent the night at Xiaoxi's place and came back this morning. If you don't believe me, you can ask Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi? Zhuang Liaoyuan was stunned. Yes, Dad, the 3 drug dealers you and your comrades talked about today, according to your description, they seem to be the 3 people last night. One of them was killed by Xiaoxi with a gun she snatched, the other was knocked out, and the last one was beaten beyond recognition because when Xiaoxi came here, she saw this person bullying me and beat him up the most. So it should be the 3 of them. There's no mistake. Zhuang Ke explained as quickly as she could. Hearing this, Zhuang Liaoyuan's uncontrollable anger finally subsided a little. What you said is all true. It's absolutely true. Dad, think about it. If something really happened to me last night, how could I still be fine today? Zhuang Ke said hurriedly. Hearing this, Zhuang Liaoyuan's tense face relaxed a little, and he finally completely believed his daughter's words. Then, Zhuang Ke told her father the details of the situation at that time, and then said worriedly, Dad, will Xiaoxi be okay? After all, it was a human life. I've always been worried that we would implicate her. Hearing this, Zhuang Liaoyuan's face turned cold and solemn. What could possibly happen? Even if something happens, I won't let anything happen to her. Hearing this, Zhuang Ke was finally relieved. As long as her father took action, Xiaoxi would definitely be fine. At this moment, Zhuang Liaoyuan finally understood why the 2 men said that they were drunk and got into a fight after they were caught. People like them cared about their reputation the most. How could they admit that they were defeated by a little girl? As for those minions, after seeing Ning Shi's skills last night, they naturally didn't dare to tell the truth out of fear. Get up. Fortunately, your sister is fine. Otherwise, even if you repent 10,000 times, you won't be able to escape death today, Zhuang Liaoyuan said coldly. Zhuang Rongwang covered his bleeding shoulder and slowly stood up with the help of Zhuang Ke. So, this is the reason why you suddenly woke up? Zhuang Liaoyuan asked. Zhuang Rongwang nodded. I want to be a person like Sister Shi. I'll thank God if you can compare with one finger of that girl. Zhuang Liaoyuan snorted coldly. Chapter 1161. Sigh. I owe that girl another favor this time. Zhuang Liaoyuan sighed. Zhuang Ke was also very touched by Ningxi. It was the first time she had met someone like Ningxi. If someone was nice to her, she would dig out her heart to repay them. Zhuang Liaoyuan looked up at his son. I will arrange everything for you, as long as you sincerely want to make a change this time. Also, tomorrow is Saturday. Take some time to visit your grandfather at the sanatorium, so he can be at ease. As for what happened last night, you can explain, but don't tell me like you did to me. I almost killed you. Your grandfather has a heart attack. Dad, I know. I know what to say. Good. Go and take care of the wound. Okay. Late at night, Zhuang Liaoyuan stood by the window with his hands behind his back. He looked at the night sky with a complicated expression. He hoped that the kid would really grow up this time. People would only grow up after experiencing trials and hardships. What about Ningxi? What did she go through to be able to grow to where she was today? The next day, capital, history headquarters. Ning Shuiluo's eyes were gloomy. Beside her stood Dai Wei and some of the core executives. The Zhuang family's matter was completely messed up. History had been suffering a series of losses recently, especially in terms of the quality of the new clothes. They were not as good as before. Although the design department would release new clothes every once in a while, they were not as good as before. Coupled with the fact that Zhe Ling and the fashion magazines were not willing to let go, history was pushed to the heart of the struggle. As the head of the design department, Dai Wei naturally knew that the main problem was him. If history could not produce high-quality clothes, it would not be long before Zhe Ling completely surpassed them. When it came to being anxious, no one was more anxious than Dai Wei. What do you want to say? Suddenly, Ning Shuo turned around and looked at Dai Wei sharply. Boss, actually, the design department has recently. Dai Wei was about to explain, but was immediately interrupted by Ning Shuo. I don't need your explanation. I only care about the results. Ning Shuiluo's voice was very cold. Zheiling's new models are getting more and more popular, which is a big blow to history. More than half of the market share has been taken by Zheling. And what is your design department doing? That's right. At the end of the day, it was the design department that caused all this trouble and pushed history to the forefront. All the responsibilities of the design department should be shouldered by you, the design director, Dai Wei, one of the higher-ups said. Dai Wei glared at the man before turning to look at Ning Shuiluo. His heart was filled with worry. Is there any news about the person I asked you to find? Ning Shuiluo asked again. Dai Wei knew who Ning Shuiluo was looking for. It was Han Xiao, who was known as a genius in Italy. However, in the field of fashion design, Han Xiao was just a flash in the pan. He had long since faded out of the fashion circle's sight. It was hard to say whether or not he still had his previous skills. Moreover, Dai Wei did not want to get close to that lunatic, so when Ning Shuiluo mentioned it, he did not take it to heart. Of course, the most important thing was that he was worried that his status would be affected. To find a designer who could suppress him, and such a troublesome character at that. Wasn't he just making things difficult for himself? Chapter 1162. However, now that things had come to this, he had no choice but to compromise. Otherwise, if history was finished, he would really be finished. Boss, I know how to find Han Xiao. Give me 2 days. However, even if we contact Han Xiao, it's hard to say if he will come to help us. Dai Wei could be considered to have a slight understanding of Han Xiao. It would not be easy to invite someone who did not play by the rules to attack Zhe Ling in history. As long as he has the ability, we can give him any conditions. Ning Shuiluo said directly. All right, boss, I'll do it now. Dai Wei nodded and turned to leave. Walking out of the headquarters of history, Dai Wei took out his phone and checked his contact list for a moment before making a call. Hey, Dai Wei, what brings you here? A clear voice came from the other end of the phone. Jill, I have a favor to ask of you. Dai Wei said. Oh, there's something that you, the great designer Dai, need to ask of your little brother. What is it? Jill, do you remember that Italian Chinese, the one called Han Xiao? Dai Wei went straight to the point and told him why he was looking for Han Xiao. After Han Xiao's name came out of Dai Wei's mouth, the other end of the phone fell silent. After a long time, a voice came from the phone. Dai Wei, Han Xiao, and I were once classmates. He studied design, but it was just a moment of novelty. You don't understand that lunatic at all. You must stay away from him. Dai Wei, I'm not joking with you. Jill, that lunatic, what did he do? Dai Wei could hear the fear on the other side of the phone when Han Xiao was mentioned. That lunatic, Han Xiao, is a taboo in the underworld of several countries. You'll never be able to imagine it. That lunatic once offended a mafia in Italy. That mafia sent over 100 people to kill Han Xiao, but in the end, all of them went missing, and they still haven't been able to find them. Dai Wei was taken aback when he heard that. Do you think it's the end? No, that pervert on the second night, the mafia was destroyed. A few of the bosses and higher-ups were all fucking dead in the villa. It was said that their organs were dug out with a scalpel, and they were stitched together. There was even a tombstone on the wall. Who did it? Could be Han Xiao. Dai Wei's entire body trembled. That's hard to say. The underground forces all say that it was that madman who did it, but no one has any evidence. If it's really Han Xiao, only God knows how he managed to destroy an entire mafia organization in just one night, and even get rid of those bosses and the higher-ups. At this moment, Dai Wei felt a chill in his heart. He swore that he absolutely did not want to have anything to do with Han Xiao. However, he couldn't explain to Ning Shui Luo, so he still had to find Han Xiao. Jill, do you still have Han Xiao's contact information? Dai Wei sighed. All right, Dai Wei, I'll give you his contact details. However, I wish you good luck, brother. After hanging up, Dai Wei finally got Han Xiao's contact information, but he still felt a little uncertain. After thinking about it for a while, Dai Wei did not dare to make a phone call and decided to send Han Xiao a text to test him. Haha, brother Han Xiao, I'm Dai Wei. You still remember my mom? Ding. A text message beeped. What is your mother's surname? Chapter 1163. Dai Wei couldn't help but feel terrified when he thought about sending a message to a pervert like Han Xiao. He accidentally typed the wrong word instead of ma. Brother Han Xiao. No. I mean, do you remember me? I'm Dai Wei, Jill's friend. We met in Italy before. Dai Wei deleted the message a few times before he finally chose a more suitable one and sent it to Han Xiao. Oh, you're Dai Wei. I don't know you. Dai Wei didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw Han Xiao's message. He had clearly met him in Italy before. He was sitting right next to Jill. Haha, brother Han Xiao. You're forgetful. We did meet in Italy before. Jill was your classmate, right? I'm Jill's good friend. Since Han Xiao had forgotten him, he wouldn't forget his classmate, Jill. What's up? Han Xiao's message was sent. It's like this, brother Han Xiao. I just happened to find out that you're in the capital of China. Coincidentally, I'm also in the capital, so I'd like to meet you and catch up. Dai Wei felt conflicted after the message was sent. He hoped that Han Xiao would agree, but at the same time, he didn't want him to. If Han Xiao rejected, then he wouldn't have to continue interacting with such a perverted and dangerous person. However, if Han Xiao didn't agree, then he wouldn't be able to explain to his boss, Ning Shui, I'm eating it delicious every day. The address is west of Huadong Building. It's KFC, right? Dai Wei asked uncertainly. KFC, I don't think so. Dai Wei, he felt like he would lose a few years of his life just by texting this guy. Dai Wei was still hesitant after receiving Han Zhao's address. Did he really have to meet that perverted lunatic? However, when he thought of Ning Shui and the consequences of not being able to save history, Dai Wei felt a chill down his spine. In the end, Dai Wei had no choice but to force himself to drive there. 15 minutes later, Dai Wei stood at the entrance of KFC. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Han Zhao's appearance was easy to recognize. He had the appearance of a classic Asian beauty. Dai Wei saw Han Xiao as soon as he entered the store. At this time, Han Xiao was dressed in sportswear. His long ink-dyed hair was tied into a ponytail, and he wore a black hat on his head. He looked extremely handsome. In fact, there were quite a few sweet-looking girls in front of Han Xiao, and all of them were staring at him in a daze. Brother, can you give me your contact information? Before Dai Wei could go over and greet them, a few girls who appear to be around 18 or 19 years old actually surrounded Han Xiao. Han Xiao raised his head and stared at the girls with an expression as if he was used to it. He didn't even bother to respond to them. Seeing this, the girls could only leave silently. Haha, brother Han Xiao. I'm Dai Wei. Dai Wei greeted Han Xiao with a smile as he quickly strode over to Han Xiao. Have a seat. Han Xiao stared at the seat in front of him. Order whatever you want to eat and pay for it yourself. There's no need. I just ate before I came. Dai Wei smiled. Dai Wei, right? I have some impression of you. Why are you looking for me? Just say it. I don't like to beat around the bush. After Han Xiao finished speaking, he finished the chicken in his hand. He still looked like he wanted to continue. All right, brother Han Xiao, it's like this. I'm currently working at History. Our boss knows about your capabilities, so he wants you to help out at History. Dai Wei didn't dare to beat around the bush with this person in front of him, so he directly stated his intentions. Chapter 1164. Go buy me some drumsticks first. I'm not full yet. Han Xiao stared at Dai Wei. Okay. Dai Wei immediately stood up and went to the front desk to order 5 New Orleans drumsticks. After paying, he brought them back and carefully placed them in front of Han Xiao. You said I'm not interested, Han Xiao said to Dai Wei while gnawing on a drumstick. Dai Wei was speechless. You've already finished all the drumsticks I bought, 5 of them, and now you're saying you're not interested? Brother Han Xiao, our boss said that as long as you help us suppress Zealing, we can negotiate any conditions you want. Dai Wei hurriedly said when he saw Han Xiao's refusal. Zealing. Han Xiao had a thoughtful look on his face. Boss, Han Xiao has been found. He's right beside you. Okay, I'll put him on speaker. You can talk to him yourself. Dai Wei immediately called Ning Xuelua and turned it on speaker. In the next second, a gentle female voice came from the phone. Hello, Mr. Han. I remember. Didn't I just tell you that I'm not interested? Han Zhao's face was expressionless as his cold gaze fell on Dai Wei. Dai Wei's hair stood on end when he was stared at by Han Xiao. Without thinking, he hung up the phone without giving Ning Xuo a chance to speak. I'm sorry. Dai Wei's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Although Han Zhao's expression was calm, Dai Wei felt out of breath when Han Xiao glanced at him. Is everything okay? Han Xiao said lightly. Yes. Brother Han Xiao, eat first. Call me if there's anything. Oh no, text me. Dai Wei turned around and left the KFC after saying that. Han Xiao sucked on his fingers after finishing the drumstick, then left for the History headquarters. Wait, what are you looking at? I'm talking to you. Downstairs at the History headquarters, several security guards stopped Han Xiao, who was wearing a tight sports suit. You know where this place is, and you dare to barge in. One of the security guards pointed at Han Xiao with an electric baton. The History headquarters wasn't a place that anyone could enter. Their big boss was the famous movie star Ning Xuelua. Countless reporters and paparazzi try to sneak in every day. Take your toy away. When the security guard pointed the electric baton at Han Xiao, an inexplicable smile appeared on his face. His originally clear eyes began to change. Look at you. You look like a girl. Hurry up and leave. The security guard said impatiently. Han Xiao ignored the security guards. With a slight movement of his feet, he bypassed the security guards and headed straight for History's headquarters. Are you fucking deaf? Where did this dog come from? You're courting death. The security guards were furious. A few days ago, the higher-ups had said that during this period of time, the media and fashion magazines could not be allowed in, especially strangers. Seeing that Han Xiao, who was dressed in sportswear, was ignoring them, One of the security guards raised his electric baton and swung it at Han Xiao. These security guards also had a set of systems. When dealing with such people, they couldn't hit their heads. If something happened, they wouldn't be able to absolve themselves from the blame, so they had to hit their bodies. Whoosh! A whooshing sound could be heard as the electric baton went down. The force was not small. Bang! In the next second, the security guard who hit Han Xiao was completely stunned on the spot. Han Xiao didn't even turn his head. He lightly pointed a finger behind him and blocked the electric baton. Chapter 1165. The rest of the security guards were shocked. He blocked the electric baton with just a finger. That was an electric baton wielded by a security guard who weighed 180 pounds. Didn't I just say to put away your toys? Han Xiao slowly turned around, a hint of morbid madness appearing in his eyes. Crack! Under the horrified gaze of the security guards, the electric baton was crushed by Han Xiao's right hand. Big brother, please come in. Tell me if you need anything. The attitude of the security guards changed 180 degrees. They looked like they were about to kneel down in front of Han Xiao. The security guard were scared out of their wits. Was this beautiful man in front of them really a human? Could he be transformed from some kind of demon or ghost? Han Xiao no longer bothered with these security guards and turned around to walk into the history headquarters. As Han Xiao walked in, the history headquarters was in an uproar. So beautiful. She's even more beautiful than our big boss, Ning Xueluo. What a beautiful girl. Even those female celebrities who rely on their looks to make a living can't be this beautiful. Are you blind? She's so beautiful. She must be a boy. Brother Han Xiao, why are you here? Dai Wei, who was about to go out, saw Han Xiao as soon as he came out of Ning Xueluo's office. At first, he thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Quick! Please come in. Dai Wei immediately went forward and welcomed Han Xiao into Ning Xueluo's office. At this moment, Ning Xueluo was flipping through some documents in her office. She frowned when she heard Dai Wei's voice. Just as she was about to speak, she saw a beautiful man walking in front of Dai Wei. Dai Wei, this is... Ning Xueluo couldn't help but look at Han Xiao carefully. Then, she asked Dai Wei. Ning Xueluo had seen Han Xiao's photo in a fashion magazine, but it was too blurry and the image was different, so she couldn't recognize Han Xiao at first. Hearing that, Dai Wei quickly walked forward with a smile on his face and said, Boss, he's Han Xiao. Han Xiao. After learning Han Xiao's identity from Dai Wei, Ning Xueluo was slightly stunned. This beautiful man in front of her was actually a genius in the Italian fashion industry. Mr. Han, I've heard a lot about you. Ning Xueluo immediately stood up from her office chair, walked forward, and extended her right hand toward Han Xiao. However, Han Xiao directly walked past Ning Xueluo and sat on her office chair. He crossed his legs on the table and said indifferently, Tell me, history's boss, what business do you have with me? Boss, Han Xiao. That's just how he is. Don't. Seeing Han Xiao's attitude towards Ning Xueluo, Dai Wei was afraid that Ning Xueluo would fly into a rage and get out of hand. However, Ning Xueluo's expression remained calm, as if she didn't care at all. She lowered her arm, turned around to face Han Xiao, and said with a smile, Mr. Han Xiao, I've heard a lot about you. I believe that Mr. Han Xiao has already obtained some information from Dai Wei. I can repeat it now. I'm listening. Han Xiao lowered his hat, as if he was about to fall asleep. Mr. Han Xiao, let me introduce myself first. My name is Ning Xueluo, and I'm the boss of History. History is a high-end luxury clothing brand, and I personally admire Mr. Han Xiao's designs. Therefore, I would like to hire Mr. Han Xiao as a design consultant for History with a high salary. Ning Xueluo went straight to the point. Chapter 1166. Oh, is there no one in History's design department? Han Xiao sat on Ning Xueluo's chair, his legs crossed on the expensive desk. He looked at Dai Wei with a faint smile. Dai Wei felt embarrassed when he heard Han Xiao's words. He was the boss of the design department. However, Dai Wei did not dare to get angry at Han Xiao. He could only smile and let Han Xiao say whatever he wanted. To be honest, Mr. Han, History's design department has been lacking in inspiration recently. Our market share has been overtaken by our biggest rival. Zailing otherwise, we wouldn't have thought of troubling you. Ning Shuiluo didn't try to hide anything. The most important thing now was to defeat Zailing. Everything else could be discussed. It was understandable that talented people were eccentric as long as they had the ability. Zailing, Han Xiao murmured. He had done some research on Zailing's clothing. The designer was indeed a genius. From the appearance to the charm of the clothing, everything was perfect. In this aspect alone, Zailing had already surpassed History. Today's History was only able to compete with Zailing because it had become famous earlier, so consumers had a preconceived notion of what it was. Furthermore, History's previous works had supported the media's earlier hype and exposure. So History could still compete with Zailing otherwise. Zailing would have left History in the dust. To put it bluntly, it was a company on the brink of collapse. Although on the surface, it seemed to be very confident. As time passed, History would be completely trampled under Zailing's feet. This was only a matter of time. The designer of Zailing was indeed a genius. Such a person and his work could indeed make Han Zhao's blood boil. Although he had only learned fashion design because he was bored, he was willing to continue playing as long as there was something that piqued his interest, regardless of the field. Seeing Han Xiao pondering for a long time, Ning Shuo smiled and asked, "Mr. Han, do you have any understanding of the Zailing brand?" Han Xiao did not answer Ning Shuo's question. In his mind, a few pieces of Zailing's shop that night appeared. They were classical and elegant, with a special oriental flavor and charm. And those few pieces of art had inspired him a lot of creative inspiration. If it were him, he would completely tear this special Eastern charm into pieces, break the shackles of the secular world, and create a feast of death and darkness. Zailing, I'm actually quite interested. Han Xiao straightened his hat, and a trace of scorching light emerged in his eyes. He had told Ningxi the other night that the designer in Zailing was not as good as him, but that woman did not believe him and made sarcastic remarks about him. Now he might as well do some exercise and compete with the genius designer in Zailing to see whose work was full of irresistible magic. Ning Shuiluo's eyes lit up as she sized up the handsome man in front of her. Does this mean that there's a chance? Mr. Han, if it's possible, I would like to hire you as the chief designer of History. Ning Shuiluo looked at Han Xiao and smiled gently. Boss! Dai Wei's expression changed. He wanted to say something, but Ning Shuiluo shot him a look. Dai Wei's face darkened. He had finally managed to invite Han Xiao over after much difficulty, but he did not expect that his boss, Ning Shuiluo, would want Han Xiao to take his position. They had agreed that he was only here to save them in an emergency. Notice, sorry babies. All sorts of things have piled up today, and the computer crashed. Update this chapter first. Don't wait for me today. Chapter 1167. Oh, I'm not interested. I'm only interested in Zailing. Han Zhao's eyes flashed with coldness. Ning Shuo was disappointed to hear that Han Xiao wasn't interested, while Dai Wei was secretly relieved. Mr. Han, may I ask if there's any conflict between you and Zailing? Thinking of this, Ning Shuo couldn't help but feel a little happy. No, I'm just bored. Han Xiao smiled grimly. Ahem, okay. Ning Shuo was a little embarrassed. Han Xiao, as the rumors said, only did things according to his own preferences. He didn't need any reason at all. Then how much do you want, Mr. Han? Ning Shuo asked again. I don't want a penny. I'm just itching for a fight, that's all. Han Xiao said something that made them even more surprised. Peach Blossom Dock. Ningxi finally had some free time after a business trip, so she planned to spend time with Big Bun and Little Bun. Just as she was about to go grocery shopping, her cell phone rang. It was Zhuang Kuer. Lu Tingxiao had obviously seen the name on the screen from the corner of his eye. Receiving the gaze of his wife, no, the boss, Ningxi immediately turned on the hands-free mode and then picked up the phone. Hello, Kuer. Xiaoxi, I have something to tell you. Is it convenient for you now? Well, what did Ke want to say? Well, Ning, she swallowed. Could she say it was not convenient? Of course not. So, Ning, she could only put on an open and above-board expression and said, yes, of course. Go ahead. My father and grandfather already know that you saved me and Rongwang the night before yesterday. Zhuang Ku's voice came from the other end of the phone. Hearing this, Ningxi's legs suddenly turned to jelly. She looked at the expressionless demon beside her with a pale face. Fuck, I'm doomed. She tried so hard to hide it for so long, but in the end, she was still caught off guard. This man really couldn't do bad things. What shocked her even more was that the great demon king was so calm. Could this be the calm before the storm? Xiaoxi, are you listening to me? Zhuang Ke asked curiously on the other end of the phone when Ning, she suddenly fell silent. Cough. Yes. How did your father and grandfather know? Didn't we agree not to tell our family about this? What about Zhuang Rongwang? He wouldn't have been beaten to death, right? Ningxi's face darkened as she asked. Rongwang was whipped by my dad. The wound was quite deep, but it's been treated. It's not a big deal. Fortunately, I'm fine. Otherwise, my dad would probably beat him to death. Xiaoxi, it's all thanks to you this time. Zhuang Ke sighed. Well, Ke, is there anything else? Ning, she asked, because if there was nothing else, she was going to hang up and accept the punishment of the Demon King. Zhuang Ke hurriedly said, Oh, I almost forgot. My father and grandfather want to treat you to a meal today. They asked me to invite you over. Ning, she hesitated and secretly glanced at the great Demon King. The point was that she didn't know how long she would have to kneel on the washboard. Should she go or not? The calmer the great Demon King was, the more scared she was. Woo. Chapter 1168. Xiaoxi, you must come this time. If we don't thank you for this, our family will feel bad. Of course, it's not just about what happened the night before yesterday. My dad told my mom about a lot of things that happened recently. My mom took a leave from the army and rushed home overnight just to see you. Zhuang Ke said eagerly. Even Kuer's mother came back. It was said that Madame Zhuang's work was very confidential, and she only came back a few times a year. Actually, you really don't have to go through so much trouble. It's just a small matter. We're friends. Do you still need to thank me for helping you? Besides, you've helped me before. Ning, she said. Xiaoxi, what I've done for you is nothing. It's not even a small matter. Anyway, this is definitely necessary. If you don't come, our family will feel bad. Zhuang Ke said seriously. Zhuang Ke had already said this much, and Madame Zhuang had also asked for leave. Ning, she thought about it and decided that she couldn't refuse, so she could only say, Okay, I got it. I'll be there. And then it's settled. I'll wait for you. Zhuang Ke hung up happily. After hanging up the phone, Ning, she immediately ran to the kitchen and found a washboard. She thought it wasn't enough, so she found a durian out of nowhere and quickly returned to the great Demon King. Ning, she held the washboard in one hand and the durian in the other as she stood in front of Lu Tingxiao with her little head raised. Her little expression was as flattering as it could be. Sweetheart, choose one. As long as you can calm down, Lu Tingxiao's face was still expressionless. His eyes swept over the washboard and durian in the girl's hands, and then his eyebrows twitched as if he was about to collapse. You think this is enough? This is not enough. Ning, she was suddenly struck by a bolt from the blue. Her face was full of despair. Then, she threw away the things in her hands and used her killer move. With a cry, she hugged the calf of the little bun next to her. Bun, save me. Mama, Xiao about tilted his head in confusion. Although he didn't know why Mummy wanted him to save her, he still firmly hugged his mother. His little eyes could be said to be fiercely staring at Papa, as if he was protecting him. Do you know what she did wrong? Lu Tingxiao looked at his son and said coldly. Little steamed Bun first glanced at Mama, then immediately continued to put on a fierce expression towards Papa without hesitation. It was a completely my mama is right and wrong is also right posture. Ning Shi, on the other hand, continued to hold the steamed bun and refused to let go. Lu Tingxiao. Looking at the mother and son, Lu Tingxiao's cold expression finally broke. He pinched his eyebrows and said, "All right, I already know about this." Hearing this, Ning, she was stunned. Huh? What did the great Demon King mean? You already knew? Ning, she's eyes widened. You think you hit it well? Lu Tingxiao looked at her condescendingly. Ning, she immediately climbed up the pole and flattered. Sweetheart, you really love me. My acting skills are so good, but you actually saw through it with one look. Lu Tingxiao gave her a sidelong glance. Practice makes perfect. Ning, she coughed. She had made enough mistakes that practice makes perfect. Chapter 1169. Ning, she rolled her eyes and suddenly thought of something. I just heard the news that the secret underground casino was destroyed in one fell swoop. All the gangsters present were sent to the police station, and the police station couldn't hold them all. So did you do it? The more she thought about it, the more she felt that it might be Lu Tingxiao's doing. Lu Tingxiao didn't speak, with a noble and elegant posture. Ning, she immediately let go of Little Bun, rubbed into Big Bun's arms, jumped up and kissed the man's chin. Thank you, boss. After spending a lot of effort to appease Big Bun and Little Bun, and promising countless compensation, Ning, she went to the Zhuang family. As soon as she reached the gate of the military compound, someone took her to the manor. At the gate of the manor, there was already a graceful and quiet woman waiting in front. After seeing the girl beside the guard, the woman showed a suspicious look and didn't come forward for a while. Xiaoxi, you're here. Behind her, Xianxia ran out of the house and greeted the girl beside the guard. Ning, she smiled. After confirming that the girl in a light pink dress with waist-length hair was Ning Shi, Meng Linlong's expression was full of disbelief. This is the Xiaoxi you were talking about? Ning, she was going to accompany Lu Tingxiao and Little Bun today. So, she was dressed like a very good girl, which was probably very different from what Meng Linlang had imagined. It's my mother. Zhuang led Ning Shi to Meng Linlang and introduced her to Ning Shi. Xiaoxi, this is my mother. Hello, Madame Zhuang. Ning Shi greeted, looking at the beauty in front of her, who looked to be in her 30s at most, with an oval face and red phoenix eyes, and a classical temperament. She looked like a sister to Zhuang. Ning Shi's eyes couldn't help flashing a trace of amazement. Hello, good girl, I finally meet you. According to their description, I thought you were. I didn't expect you to be such a beautiful and virtuous girl. Come in and talk. Meng Linlang took Ning Shi's hand intimately into the room. Meng Linlang had never seen Ning Shi with her own eyes. She had only heard the description of Ning Shi from her husband and children. Her shooting talent was better than Rong Wang's, and her fighting skills were top-notch. She didn't even flinch when she killed the drug dealers, so she had always thought that Ning Shi was a very tough girl. She didn't expect her to be so obedient. In the living room, Zhuang Rongwang was holding an English dictionary and reading it bitterly. When he saw Ning Shi, his eyes immediately lit up, just like a fan seeing his idol. Sister Shi, you're here. Take a seat. After saying that, he poured her tea and brought her snacks. Today, Zhuang Rongwang was wearing a simple white shirt and jeans. He was an 18-year-old young man, and he looked very young. Ning Shi looked at him for a long time and couldn't help teasing. If you had dressed like this before, would your girlfriend have run away with another man? Zhuang Rongwang was a little embarrassed by Ning Shi's teasing. Sister Shi, don't expose my dark history. Did I? I was clearly praising your handsomeness. Ha ha ha, really? Seeing the appearance of her good-for-nothing son, Meng Linlong's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She looked at Ning Shi with even more gratitude. You talk first. There are 2 dishes in the kitchen. Hearing this, Zhuang Rongwang immediately stretched out his hand and wailed, Mom, don't go. I beg you. Let the nanny do it. Chapter 1170. Meng Linlang said unhappily, there are guests at home. Of course, I have to cook 2 dishes to show my sincerity. It's because there are guests at home. Those who know you are thanking them, but those who don't will think you are going to hate them. Zhuang Rongwang muttered. Meng Linlang immediately glared at him. Although her eyes were full of anger, they were full of love. You brat, Ku'er whispered in Ningxi's ear with a smile. My mother's cooking is not very good, I see. Ningxi looked at the interaction between Madame Zhuang and the child. In her eyes flashed a trace of admiration that even she herself was not aware of. Xiaoxi, play with Ku'er and Rongwang for a while. The food will be ready soon. Okay, you go ahead. Don't worry about me. After a while, the food was ready. On the round dining table, the entire Zhuang family was gathered together, which was rare. Zhuang Liaoan held a glass of wine and took the lead to stand up. Xiaoxi, I toast you. Ningxi was immediately flattered and stood up with a glass of wine. Sister Shi, I also want to toast you. Cheers, you can drink as you like. You are a girl, don't drink too much. Zhuang Rongwang said and drank the wine in his glass. Ningxi shook her head and laughed. Finally, he knew she was a girl. Then Zhuang Ku'er and Meng Linlang also toasted her. The last one was Old Chief Zhuang. Before the old chief stood up, she hurriedly stood up. Old sir, if you do this, I will be embarrassed. The host and guests were happy during the meal. Probably because the hostess of the family was back, the whole atmosphere was much warmer. During the dinner, the more Meng Linlang talked to Ningxi, the more she liked Ningxi. She even compared her 2 biological children with Ningxi. Before leaving, she took Ningxi's hand and gave her a lot of gifts she brought back. She almost gave her the emerald bracelet on her wrist, but Ningxi refused firmly. She only left some local products, but this was already impressive enough. In the end, Zhuang Liaoyuan sent guards to send her back. After Ningxi left in the master bedroom, Meng Linlang looked at her husband and muttered, Is Xiaoxi really Lingyu's daughter? Yes, I've already checked. There's no mistake. Zhuang Liaoyuan lit a cigarette and said with certainty. Meng Linlong's eyes turned cold. I didn't expect that your silly sister could give birth to such a good daughter. Fortunately, I grew up in the countryside. If I had been raised by her side, who knows what I would have become? Stop talking. Zhuang Liaoyuan sighed. I feel there's something strange about Cici being kicked out of the Ning family, and it's probably related to that adopted daughter. Meng Linlang murmured and then asked, What's Grandpa's plan? Should he take it back? The Ning family doesn't know what's good and what's bad. It's fine if we don't know, but we can't just ignore it, right? The old master still can't get over what happened in the past, but he still likes Ningxi very much. He told me to take good care of her. Zhuang Liaoyuan said. Of course we should take good care of her. We take care of Ningxi not because Ningxi was born in her belly, but because we really like her. There's nothing to worry about. Hearing his wife's words, Zhuang Liaoyuan suddenly saw the light. You're right. Meng Linlang looked worried. You're a man. What do you know about taking care of her? You even want to recruit a beautiful girl into the army. How could you think of that? The report I submitted should be approved this time. When I come back, I'll take care of it. Zhuang Liaoyuan chuckled. Thank you, madam. Chapter 1171. After returning from the Zhuang family, Ningxi immediately went to Platinum Palace to keep Big and Little Bun's company. The next day, the family of 3 went to Ocean Park together. After a short break, they immediately threw themselves into the path of earning money. During this period of time, Zeiling had been progressing at a tremendous pace. In terms of market share, it had already begun to surpass history. However, history was being doubted by the media and the public. Ever since the few stunning and famous works that made history famous, history began to go downhill. After that, the new designs that were released one after another could not reach the quality of the famous works. Some of them even copied their own famous works, which made the consumers very dissatisfied. On the other hand, history's biggest rival, Zeiling, continued to work hard. Almost every once in a while, there would be a new item on the shelves. From the design and quality of the clothing, it was very balanced, which also won Zhe Ling many loyal fans. In the comment section of History's official Weibo, there would be people questioning History almost every day. This caused a large number of loyal fans to be dissatisfied and even insult them. Zhe Ling is nothing. It's just a knockoff that imitates History's design concept. To the top of the commenter, if it wasn't for History's stunning debut and opening up the market, Zhe Ling would not even exist now. Every industry has a bottleneck. Designers are not gods. Inspiration takes time to gather. What a bunch of trash. Are they all hired by Zhe Ling? What do you mean by History plagiarizing Zhe Ling's design ideas? Do you even know that when History became famous, Zhe Ling was still nowhere to be found? In my opinion, plagiarism is true, but it was Zhe Ling who plagiarized History's design ideas. History was magnanimous enough to let it go, and now they even dare to make a false accusation. What a trashy brand. Only a trashy person would like a trashy brand like Zhe Ling. I think it's better to speak with facts. History's first few famous works were indeed stunning. They allowed History to easily take over the market and build a brand. But look at the old designs that Zhe Ling released earlier. They are indeed very similar to History's famous works, but they have more charm. This is something that History didn't manage to do. Maybe the plagiarism is not groundless. After all, plagiarism doesn't depend on whose brand is famous first. To the top of the commenter, you must be Zhe Ling. If you type these words, Zhe Ling will give you a lot of money. Penthouse plus 10,086. What a joke. History's group of brainless fans are like mad dogs, biting whoever they catch. They have no sense at all, biting whoever they catch. I laughed. I just want to tell Zhe Ling that I bought a watch last year. You Zealing idiots are purebred idiots. The loyal supporters of Zhe Ling and History had exploded on Weibo in the past few days and even made it to the top search list. History headquarters. Ning Shuo looked at the Weibo posts on her phone. They were all about History and Zhe Ling currently. The news on the internet was overwhelming. Most of the spearheads were pointing at Zhe Ling's plagiarism of History's works. Seeing more and more netizens joining the crusade, Ning Shuo's mouth involuntarily curled up. Daiwei, how's Han Zhao's design coming along? Ning Shuo put down her phone and asked Daiwei. This. Daiwei was stunned for a moment before he shook his head, indicating that he did not know. Ever since Han Zhao came to History, he had completely dominated the design department. Even the employees of the design department were chased out by Han Zhao. In the entire design department, only Han Zhao remained. Chapter 1172. Daiwei didn't want to have any contact with Han Zhao, so he rarely went to the design department. Ning Shuo knew how to strike while the iron was hot. Most of the netizens on the internet thought that Zhe Ling was plagiarizing. If Han Zhao could design high-quality clothes during this time, he might have a chance to crush Zhe Ling. Follow me to the design department. Ning Shuo walked straight out of the office and headed to the design department. Daiwei had no choice but to follow Ning Shuo. A moment later, in the design department of History, the originally snow-white wall had been messily drawn by Han Zhao with a brush, and these drawings were all very difficult to understand. Mr. Han Zhao, when can you show me your work? Ning Shuo stared at Han Zhao, who was sitting on the office chair, and asked with a smile. Han Zhao raised his cap and ignored Ning Shuo. He only glanced at the drawings on the table. Ning Shuo got the signal and immediately walked forward. She spread out the drawings and looked at them carefully. A moment later, Ning Shuo's eyes glowed with surprise. There were a total of 10 blueprints, each of which represented the 10 components of the clothing. If one were to look at them individually, they would look very ordinary, and there was nothing eye-catching about them. However, after the 10 blueprints were combined, Han Zhao's clothing finally appeared in Ning Shuo and Daiwei's eyes. This was a complete blueprint, and its contents seemed to have an irresistible charm. Just a single glance would cause one to be completely immersed in it. Darkness, pain, and death. The overall artistic style is supernatural, forming an inexplicable sense of decadence. The details of the writing add witchcraft, the abyss, the dark night, curses, loneliness, and despair. It makes people feel like they have gone to the Avicii hell. Dai Wei looked at the completed blueprint seriously, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. This was a completely different style of dark elements, bringing the foreign elements to the extreme. However, this kind of dark style was not unacceptable. Whether it was the color processing or the details, it could be said to be perfect. Even if an ordinary woman wore this kind of clothes, her temperament would definitely be greatly enhanced. That inexplicable coldness would probably increase an invisible and strong aura. It's so beautiful. Most importantly, it was too special and eye-catching. It was definitely in line with the mentality of the masses. A glint flashed across Ning Xiaoluo's eyes. She had seen similar designs like Han Zhao's in the market, which were designed with darkness and death as the main theme. But to put it bluntly, they were all claptrap. From the overall design point of view, it would make people feel uncomfortable and a little fearful, not to mention that no one would actually wear them. On the other hand, the one Han Xiao design had a completely different feeling. Although it was filled with a strong color of despair, it didn't have the slightest hint of blood. On the contrary, it had an extremely noble and ancient flavor of the mysterious Eastern culture. Even Ning Xiaoluo herself could not help but want to possess him. How long have you been working on it? Ning Xiaoluo reluctantly withdrew her gaze and looked at Han Xiao as she asked. What's the meaning of his question? Han Xiao asked. I'm just curious, said Ning Xiaoluo. Then hold back your curiosity. Han Zhao's face was expressionless, but there was a bone-piercing chill in his eyes. Chapter 1173. Han Zhao's attitude made Ning Xiaoluo unhappy, but Han Xiao was not Dai Wei, nor was he an employee of history. Furthermore, she still had to borrow Han Zhao's hand to send Zhe Ling into the abyss, so she could only endure it for now. Mr. Han, please don't mind me. I was just asking. I admire Mr. Han Zhao's design very much, so I plan to mass-produce it. Ning Xiaoluo looked at the design again. After a few breaths, Ning Xiaoluo frowned. She didn't pay much attention to it before, but now she found an obvious flaw. A part of Rakshasa's design was missing some limbs. Mr. Han Xiao, there are some flaws in your design. Ning Xiaoluo placed the design in front of Han Xiao and pointed out the flaw. Upon seeing this, Han Xiao stood up. His emotionless eyes fell on Ning Xiaoluo. For some reason, Ning Xiaoluo's entire body stiffened when Han Xiao sized her up. How can a rookie like you who doesn't know shit understand what a flaw is? The corners of Han Zhao's mouth rose slightly, forming a devilish smile. There is no such thing as a perfect design. Perfection is itself imperfect. Since that is the case, why should we rack our brains and pretend to be as perfect as possible? Yes. Brother Han Xiao is absolutely right. The boss is just concerned about Brother Han Xiao. Don't take it to heart. Dai Wei felt a chill in his heart. Even if he offended Ning Xiaoluo, he wouldn't dare to offend Han Xiao. Moreover, the boss wasn't proficient in this field, and he actually went to question Han Zhao's work. When the time came, this lunatic Han Xiao would be provoked, and then she would know what a flaw was. What she was most afraid of most was that when the time came, the innocent would be harmed, and she would also be ruined by Han Xiao. Brother Han Zhao's design must be trying to express that perfection is a kind of beauty, and that the simple acknowledgement of flaws is a kind of beauty. Dai Wei flattered with a smile. What do you know? Han Xiao lowered his cap again. It's just that I'm too lazy to continue designing flaws. Hearing that, Dai Wei's face darkened. He felt extremely awkward. This Han Xiao was too direct. Then, Mr. Han, what do you mean? Ning Xiaoluo asked tentatively. Ning Xiaoluo didn't know what to do either. Even if it was a little damaged, it couldn't stop the charm of the clothes. However, she didn't know what Han Xiao meant. This person's personality was too strange. History can produce these clothes, but the quantity cannot exceed 50, Han Xiao said faintly. 50? Limited? My works are meant for appreciation, not for profit. Do you understand? Han Xiao said coldly. All right, I understand. We'll produce 50 of them first. Ning Shuilua thought about it and finally agreed. In any case, as long as Han Xiao stayed in their company, there would definitely be a lot of such works in the future. Even if the quantity was small, it was nothing. Instead, it would greatly improve the quality of history. Mr. Han Xiao, may I know what this robe should be called? Ning Shuilua asked before leaving. Black Faith. This was Han Xiao's reply. Very soon, the Black Faith, created by Han Xiao, was finally produced by history. There were no more, no less, a total of 50 pieces. As for the first Black Faith, it was Ning Shuiluo's personal collection. Following that, Ning Shuo invited major fashion magazines and influential fashion media to visit history's latest works. You're tuning in to the Eternal Immortal Ballad YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.